Imagine waking up in ancient Babylon, 1800 BCE, a stranger in a city of 200,000, surrounded by towering ziggurats, bustling markets, and sacred temples, with no knowledge of Akkadian or the skills to survive. You must navigate a world of scribes, builders, soldiers, merchants, priests, farmers, and artisans, each governed by Hammurabi's ruthless code. Every task carving cuneiform, hauling bricks, drilling with spears, bartering goods, chanting prayers, sowing fields, or shaping clay tests your worth in a society where mistakes invite suspicion, exile, or death. Can you master their crafts, earn trust, and weave yourself into Babylon's intricate order, or will its rigid hierarchy and relentless demands cast you forever into the shadows of its ancient glory? The crowded streets and markets of Babylon. Imagine you awaken suddenly, disoriented and alone, on the dusty outskirts of ancient Babylon around 1800 BCE. During the height of Hammurabi's reign, the sun beats down relentlessly on the flat Mesopotamian plain, and in the distance, you spot the massive walls of the city, rising like an impenetrable fortress. These walls, thick enough for chariots to race along their tops, stretch for miles, enclosing a metropolis that houses perhaps 200,000 souls farmers, merchants, scribes, priests, and slaves, all crammed into a space no larger than a modern mid-sized town. You, accustomed to paved roads, street signs, and GPS, have no map, no phone, and no understanding of the Akkadian language buzzing around you. Survival here begins with simply entering the city, but even that proves a daunting task that as you approach. One of the grand gates perhaps, the famed Ishtar Gate, adorned with glazed blue bricks depicting lions and dragons. In honor of the gods, you're funneled into a throng of people. Donkeys laden with bundles of barley and wool brush past you, their hooves kicking up clouds of fine dust that clings to your skin and irritates your eyes. Farmers from the surrounding countryside, their faces weathered from endless toil under the sun, drive carts filled with dates, onions, and leeks toward the markets. You dodge a group of laborers hauling reed mats and clay bricks, materials essential for the constant repairs to the mud brick homes that line the streets. The air is thick with the scents of baked earth, unwashed bodies, and the faint metallic tang of the Euphrates River, which bisects the city and provides its lifeblood through an intricate network of canals. Once inside, the streets narrow into a labyrinth of alleys, unpaved and rutted from constant foot traffic. Houses rise 2 or 3 stories high, built from sun-dried mud bricks that crumble slightly under the elements, their flat roofs serving as extra living space for drying crops or sleeping on hot nights. Windows are small and high to deter thieves, and doors open onto central courtyards where families conduct much of their daily life, grinding grain, weaving cloth, or tending small gardens. You navigate these paths carefully, stepping over rivulets of wastewater that trickle from homes into open drains, a rudimentary system that prevents flooding but breeds mosquitoes and foul odors. The noise is overwhelming, vendors hawking their wares in rhythmic chants, children scampering underfoot, and the occasional bleat of sheep or lowing of cattle being herded to slaughter in the marketplaces, the heart of Babylonian commerce. You witness the pulse of economic life. Stalls overflow with goods, bolts of woolen fabric dyed in earthy tones, pots of sesame oil, and baskets of emmer wheat. The staple grain ground into flatbreads, baked in communal ovens. Merchants weigh silver shekels on balances, haggling over prices for imported luxuries like lapis lazuli from distant Afghanistan or cedar wood from Lebanon. But as a stranger, you stand out to her modern clothing, if it survived the transition, marks you as an outsider, drawing suspicious glances. Without connections or skills, you'd struggle to barter. Babylon's economy runs on a mix of barter and silver, with no concept of paper money or credit cards. Theft is rampant in these crowds, and without the protection of a family or guild, you'd be an easy target for pickpockets or opportunists. Hygiene poses another silent threat. You have no access to clean water. The canals, while vital for irrigation, carry silt and waste, and drinking from them invites dysentery or parasites. Public baths exist, but they're communal and infrequent, leaving most people to wash sporadically with river water. Diseases spread quickly in such density, cholera-like outbreaks from contaminated sources, or respiratory issues from the perpetual dust. Social norms dictate interactions. Men dominate public spaces, while women manage households, though some, like priestesses, hold influence in temples. You'd need to learn quickly to avoid offending customs, such as greeting elders with deference or navigating the class divides between free citizens who own land and slaves who labor endlessly. As the day wears on, the heat intensifies, sapping your energy. Without air conditioning or shaded cafes, you ponder how to secure a meal or a safe place to rest. But the complexities of this ancient urban maze leave you wondering. In a city where every interaction hinges on unwritten rules and fragile alliances, how long could you evade the perils lurking in the shadows? You've managed to slip through the bustling gates of Babylon, but the challenge of surviving in this ancient city deepens as you wander deeper into its crowded heart. The sun climbs higher, turning the narrow streets into ovens. The mud brick walls radiating heat. Your modern sensibilities' expectations of clear directions, clean water, or even a moment's privacy are useless here. Every step through the teeming markets and alleyways demands vigilance. As you navigate a world governed by rigid customs, unspoken hierarchies, and constant negotiation, the question isn't just how to find food or shelter, but how to avoid the social missteps that could mark you as a threat or a fool in this tightly knit society. The marketplace, sprawling along the processional way, is both a lifeline and a gauntlet. You pass stalls where merchants shout prices in Akkadian, their voices blending into a cacophony of commerce. Goods are meticulously displayed, heaps of barley, jars of honey, and dried fish strung on reeds. You notice scribes crouched under awnings, etching cuneiform onto clay tablets to record transactions, reminder that literacy is a privilege reserved for a few. Without money, skills, or a patron, you're invisible in this economy. A loaf of barley bread, coarse and heavy, might cost a fraction of a silver shekel, but you have nothing to trade except perhaps your labor. And even that requires connections you lack. Hunger gnaws at you, and the sight of a vendor grilling fish over a clay brazier only sharpens the ache. Could you steal a morsel? The risk is steep. Thieves caught in the act face harsh penalties under Hammurabi's laws, from fines to mutilation. Social dynamics are another hurdle. You observe how Babylonians interact. Men greet each other with formal gestures, hands raised or touching foreheads, while women move with purpose, often veiled, their roles defined by family or temple duties. As a stranger, your awkwardness draws attention. A misstep, like failing to yield to a noble in fine woolen robes or interrupting a merchant's deal, could spark conflict. The city's class system is rigid. At the top are the Awilam, free, landowning citizens. Below them, the Mushkinum, free but landless commoners. And at the bottom, Wardum, slaves, marked by shaved heads or branded skin. You're neither citizen nor slave, an anomaly that makes you vulnerable. Without a family or guild to vouch for you, you're at the mercy of anyone who might exploit your isolation. The Euphrates, glimmering nearby, is the city's artery, but it's no refuge. Canals feed fields and homes, but the water is murky, used for everything from irrigation to waste disposal. You see people filling clay jars, but drinking it. Untreated risks. Illness parasites like Giardia thrive in these conditions, and healers rely on incantations and herbal poultices, not antibiotics. Sanitation is rudimentary. Open drains carry refuse to the river, and flies swarm around piles of rotting food. You long for a bath, but public bathing areas are crowded, and privacy is a luxury. Even clothing is a problem. Your modern attire, if intact, is impractical in this heat and draws stares. Locals wear tunics of wool or linen, simple but suited to the climate, while you sweat and itch in whatever you're wearing. To survive, you'd need to adapt fast. Could you barter a skill, like storytelling or manual labor, to earn a meal? Merchants sometimes hire porters to carry goods, but the work is grueling, and you'd compete with slaves who labor for mere sustenance. Temples offer charity bread or beer for the destitute, but approaching a priest requires navigating religious protocols you don't understand. The ziggurat, a towering stepped pyramid dedicated to Marduk, looms over the city, its priests wielding immense power. Offending them could mean exile or worse. As evening approaches, the streets empty, and you face a new dilemma: where to sleep in a city where every corner belongs to someone, and strangers are suspect. The weight of these challenges presses down as you stand in the fading light, the city's pulse slowing around you. You wonder, in a society where trust is earned through kinship or trade, how could you carve out a place before exhaustion or suspicion overtakes you? Night has fallen over Babylon, and you stand in the cooling shadows of the city's mud-brick alleys. Still a stranger in this ancient world of 1800 BCE, the marketplace, so chaotic during the day, now lies quiet, its stalls shuttered, though the scent of baked earth and spices lingers. You've survived the heat, the crowds, and the dizzying complexity of Babylonian life for a few hours. But survival demands more than endurance. It requires integration. Without a place to rest or a way to secure food, the city's indifference threatens to swallow you. How do you find a foothold in a society where every resource, from a crust of bread to a corner to sleep, is fiercely guarded by custom and community? The streets are emptier now, but not safer. Families retreat to their flat-roofed homes where they share meals of barley porridge, lentils, or dates, washed down with weak beer, a staple, safer than canal water. You, however, have no such refuge. Loitering near a tavern, you overhear raucous laughter as men sip beer through reed straws, but approaching them is risky. Strangers, without a patron or purpose, are viewed with suspicion, often assumed to be runaway slaves or spies. Hammurabi's laws are strict. A caught runaway faces branding or worse, and you lack the clay tablet or seal that proves free status. You consider seeking shelter in a temple courtyard, where priests sometimes offer alms, but the ritual's offerings to Marduk, precise gestures, are foreign. A wrong move could brand you a heretic. Slaves dominate manual jobs, and free laborers belong to guilds that protect their own. You notice a potter shaping clay vessels by a flickering oil lamp. His craft, like all trades, is passed down through families, leaving little room for outsiders. Your modern knowledge, algebra, electricity, computers is useless without context or tools. Even basic communication is a barrier. Your halting attempts at Akkadian, pieced together from overheard phrases, draw impatient frowns. Hunger drives you to scavenge, but food scraps are rare. Babylonians waste little, and dogs or pigs claim what's left. As you wander, the city's resilience becomes clear. Babylon thrives because its people have mastered survival in a harsh land. Markets hum because merchants, scribes, and farmers depend on one another, their roles cemented by centuries of tradition. You, an outsider, disrupt this balance. Yet, there's hope in small acts. A woman tossing you a stale flatbread out of pity, or a merchant needing an extra hand at dawn. These slivers of kindness suggest that survival hinges on relationships, not just resources. Could you learn enough to blend in, to mimic the gestures and phrases that signal belonging? By dawn, you're exhausted, curled in a doorway, your body aching from the hard ground. The city stirs again, its rhythm unbroken by your struggle. Babylon's story, you realize, isn't just in its grand walls or ziggurats, but in the daily grind of its people's ordinary lives woven into a tapestry of survival. This resilience shaped one of history's greatest cities, a lesson that echoes today. Societies endure through cooperation and adaptation, even in the face of scarcity. As you fade into sleep, a question lingers. Could you, with time, become part of this world, or would its unrelenting demands always mark you as an outsider? Upholding justice, the Code of Hammurabi. Picture yourself standing in the bustling heart of Babylon around 1755 BCE, just years after King Hammurabi's death. His legacy etched into the city's very foundations. You're not in the chaotic markets now, but near the royal palace, where a towering basalt stele looms, a massive slab of black stone inscribed with the Code of Hammurabi, one of the earliest written legal systems. Its cuneiform script gleams under the Mesopotamian sun, proclaiming 282 laws that govern every facet of life, from trade disputes to family quarrels. As a stranger in this ancient city, you're struck by the weight of these laws, which promise order but demand absolute obedience. Survival here means understanding this code, for ignorance is no defense in a society where justice is as sharp as a bronze blade. The stele, nearly 8 feet tall, stands in a public square. You observe a crowd gathered around a dispute. A merchant accuses a farmer of delivering spoiled barley. The law, as read by a scribe, is clear law, 9 decrees that if goods are faulty, the seller must repay double. The farmer, sweating under the gaze of onlookers, pleads his case, but the scribe's tablet records the verdict swiftly. You notice how the crowd respects the process. Hammurabi's code, attributed to the god Shamash, carries divine authority. It's not just rules, it's the glue holding Babylon's diverse classes together. Nobles, commoners, and slaves, each with distinct rights and punishments. Daily life pulses around these laws. You see a man fined for diverting canal water, violating Law 55, which protects irrigation rights crucial for crops. A woman accused of neglecting her husband's household faces scrutiny under Law 141, which could strip her of property if proven. The code's detail is staggering. It sets wages for laborers' Law 273:8. Grains of silver daily for a hired worker regulates marriage contracts, and even dictates penalties for medical malpractice Law 218. A surgeon who botches an operation loses his hand. Yet, its fairness is uneven. Nobles receive lighter penalties than slaves, and men hold more power than women. As a stranger, you're vulnerable. Without status or kin, you'd be treated as a mushkinam, a commoner with fewer protections. Navigating this legal maze requires caution. You witness a trial at the city gate, where elders hear a theft case. The accused, a young man, faces Law 7. Receiving stolen goods without proof of purchase means death. The crowd murmurs as he stammers, lacking witnesses. Justice here is public and swift, designed to deter chaos. In a city of 200,000, you realize that every action, buying bread, renting a room, even arguing, falls under the code's gaze. A wrong move, like failing to repay a debt, Law 117, could enslave you for 3 years. With no identity or allies, how do you avoid the law's harsh penalties? As you linger, the square grows busier, and you feel the code's invisible weight. It shapes behavior, from the merchant's scales to the farmer's plow, but its rigidity leaves little room for error. You wonder, in a world where every misstep is judged by divine law, how could you, an outsider, stay on the right side of justice? You've lingered in Babylon's public square of judgment, where disputes are settled. The air hums with tension as plaintiffs, defendants, and witnesses gather their fates tied to the code's unyielding rules. You, a stranger with no standing, must grasp how this legal system works to avoid its pitfalls. In a city where justice is both a shield and a sword, one misstep could entangle you in a trial with no mercy for outsiders. The Bit Mahardim is a modest mud brick building, its interior dim and crowded. Elders and scribes, acting as judges, sit on reed mats, tablets in hand, as they hear cases. You watch a woman accused of adultery under Law 129. She risks drowning if guilty, while her husband could face no penalty for the same act. The code's bias is stark. Men dominate, and status dictates outcomes. A noble or a whilom might pay a fine for assault, Law 2 while a slave faces mutilation for the same crime, Law 199. You realize your lack of status makes you vulnerable, treated as a mushkinam. You'd face harsher penalties and fewer rights than the elite. Witnesses are crucial. As the code relies on testimony and oaths sworn before the gods, you overhear a case involving a broken contract law. 106. A merchant claims a partner cheated him in a trade deal without a sealed tablet or witnesses. The accused must swear an oath by Shamash, risky act, as false oaths invite divine wrath. You notice how people carry clay tablets, etched with cuneiform, as proof of transactions. Without one, you're defenseless in disputes. Could you navigate a trade or loan without falling afoul of laws like 122, which requires written contracts for deposits? The code's reach extends beyond courts. In the streets, you see its influence. A builder repairing a house knows Law 229. If his work collapses and kills someone, he faces execution. A tavern keeper serving beer avoids shortchanging customers, fearing Law 108's penalty of death for watering drinks. Even family life bows to the Code Law 195 mandates that a son who strikes his father loses his hand. These rules enforce order but breed fear, especially for you, an outsider unaware of nuances. A simple act, like borrowing grain, his fate hinges on whether he can produce witnesses or repay sevenfold. The crowd watches silently, aware that justice here is public theater, meant to reinforce the code's authority. You feel the pressure to conform, to learn the customs that govern every interaction. But without allies or knowledge of Akkadian, how do you avoid a trial where your word carries no weight? As dusk settles, the question looms. In a city ruled by such rigid laws, could you ever find safety? Or would the code's impartial blade always hover over you? Darkness cloaks Babylon, and you stand outside the Bit Mahardum, the day's trials fading into murmurs. Hammurabi's code, etched in stone and enforced with divine authority, has shaped every moment you've witnessed. You've seen its power. To maintain order, merchants weigh silver honestly. Builders reinforce walls. Families settle disputes under its gaze. But for you, a stranger with no tablet, no witnesses, and no kin, the code is a labyrinth of peril. Survival means not just avoiding crime, but mastering the social dance of a society bound by law. As the city sleeps, you face the final challenge, finding a place within this rigid system before it crushes you. The night air carries the scent of the Euphrates, and you wander toward a quiet corner near a canal. The code's influence lingers even here. A farmer repairing a canal bank knows Law 53. If his negligence floods a neighbor's field, he owes compensation. You realize Babylon's prosperity, fields of barley, its bustling markets rests on this legal framework. The code ensures canals are maintained, debts are paid, and disputes don't spiral into chaos. But its fairness is uneven. A noble might bribe a scribe to sway a verdict, while a slave or commoner like you faces the full weight of punishment. Law 196, an eye for an eye, applies literally to equals, but spares the elite heavier consequences. You consider your options. Could you find work as a laborer? Law 274 sets wages 6 grains of silver for a day's work, but you'd need a patron to vouch for you. Joining a guild or temple is impossible without years of apprenticeship or family ties. Scribes, the keepers of the code, are your best hope. Their literacy grants power, but learning cuneiform takes years. Hunger gnaws, and UI a loaf left unattended at a stall. Stealing it risks Law 7's death penalty, and you have no witnesses to prove innocence. Even charity is scarce temples. Feed the poor, but only those known to the community. A glimmer of hope appears. A merchant, struggling to load reeds, offers you a meal for help. You accept, carrying bundles under moonlight, earning a crust of bread and a sip of beer. This small act reveals the code's deeper purpose, not just punishment, but fostering trust. By enforcing contracts and protecting property, it binds strangers into a community. Yet, your survival remains precarious. Without a tablet to record your work or a family to claim you, you're a ghost in Babylon's legal world, always one misstep from ruin. As dawn breaks, you rest by the canal, exhausted but alive. The code, you realize, was Babylon's backbone, enabling a city of 200,000 to thrive in a harsh land. Its legacy echoes today in our legal systems, where written laws balance order and fairness, though still imperfectly. Hammurabi's stele, now a relic in museums, reminds us that justice, even when rigid, shapes societies. But for you, the question remains, could you ever bend this unyielding code to your favor? Or would you always be an outsider, judged by laws you barely understand? Toiling in the fields, agriculture and survival, you find yourself standing on the edge of a vast field outside Babylon's towering walls. Around 1800 BCE, under the scorching Mesopotamian sun, the air shimmers with heat, and the Euphrates River glints in the distance. Its waters channeled through a web of canals that sustain the lifeblood of this ancient civilization. These fields, stretching across the fertile plain, feed Babylon's 200,000 inhabitants with crops of barley, emmer, wheat, dates, and sesame. As a stranger in this world, you're thrust into the world of the farmer, where survival hinges on back-breaking labor and an intimate understanding of the land. Without modern tools or knowledge of Akkadian, you face a daunting truth. One day in these fields could break you. The soil beneath your feet is heavy with silt, deposited by centuries of river floods, making it both a blessing and a curse. Farmers, their tunics stained with sweat and mud, work in small groups, wielding wooden plows pulled by oxen to turn the earth. You watch them dig furrows, their movements precise, guided by years of experience. Canals crisscross the fields, controlled by mud brick sluices that direct water to crops. Law 53 of Hammurabi's code looms over them. Neglect a canal, and a flood could destroy your neighbor's field, leaving you liable for damages. Water is life here, but its management is a delicate dance. Too much, and crops drown. Too little, and they wither. You're handed a bronze sickle, its weight unfamiliar, and tasked with harvesting barley. The stalks are tough, and your hands, unaccustomed to such labor, blister quickly. Farmers work from dawn to dusk, their lives dictated by the season's planting in autumn, harvesting in spring. The average yield, you overhear, is about 1,200 liters of barley per hectare, enough to feed a family if taxes and debts don't claim it first. The king and temples take a share, often a third, leaving farmers to barter the rest for oil, wool, or tools. As a stranger, you have no land or kin to claim a share, and no one trusts you enough to offer work without scrutiny. The social fabric of the fields is tight-knit. Families labor together, their children scattering seeds or chasing birds from crops. Slaves marked by shaved heads toil under overseers, their lives bound by Law 15, which promises death for escaping. You're neither slave nor citizen, an outsider with no place in this hierarchy. The farmers eye you warily. Strangers could be thieves or debtors fleeing justice. Hunger gnaws at you, but the fields offer no easy food draw. Barley is tough to chew, and dates are guarded by landowners. Water from the canals tempts you, but it's murky, carrying silt and parasites that cause fever or worse. As the day wears on, your body aches, and the relentless sun saps your strength. You realize that survival here isn't just about labor, but navigating a world where land, water, and community are tightly controlled. Could you earn a farmer's trust? Or would the unforgiving fields and their strict rules leave you broken by day's end? The sun climbs higher over Babylon's fields, and you're still toiling, your hands raw from gripping the bronze sickle. The barley harvest continues. Each swing of the blade, a reminder of your inexperience in this ancient world of 1800 BCE around you. Farmers move with practiced ease, their lives woven into the rhythms of the Euphrates and its canals. You're an outsider, unversed in their customs and language, struggling to prove your worth in a system where every grain is accounted for and every mistake costly. Survival demands more than physical endurance. It requires understanding the delicate balance of labor, obligation, and community that keeps these fields alive. You pause to wipe sweat from your brow, noticing how the farmers coordinate their work. Canals are the lifeline, their mud brick sluices opened or closed to control water flow. A farmer nearby adjusts a gate, muttering about Law 55, which fines him if his negligence floods another's crops. Water disputes are common, settled by elders or scribes who record agreements on clay tablets. You have no such tablet, no proof of identity or right to be here. When a farmer offers you a sip of beer weak, but safer than canal water, you accept gratefully, but his questions in Akkadian leave you fumbling. Without language or connections, you're at their mercy. The fields are a microcosm of Babylon's economy. Barley, the staple crop, is measured in gur, about 300 liters, and farmers trade it for goods or to pay debts. You overhear a discussion about taxes. The palace claims 20 to 30% of the harvest. Temples, another share. What's left feeds families or is bartered in the city's markets. As a landless stranger, you'd earn a pittance law, 273 sets, a laborer's wage at 8 grains. Of deserving daily, barely enough for a loaf of bread. Slaves, toiling nearby, receive only food and shelter, their lives governed by strict overseers. You're free, but without land or kin, you're little better off. The physical toll is relentless. Your muscles ache, and the heat, unsoftened by modern comforts, drains you. Farmers endure this daily, their bodies hardened by years of labor. You notice their tools, simple plows, sickles, and hoes are effective but require skill. A misstep, like overwatering a plot or breaking a tool, could draw ire or debt. The community is tight. Families share labor, and neighbors watch each other's fields. As an outsider, you're excluded from this trust. When a child offers you a date, it's a rare kindness, but you wonder if it's pity or a test. Evening nears. and the farmers bundle their harvest, preparing to haul it to granaries. You're offered a chance to carry sheaves for a meal, but the work is grueling, and you lack the stamina of those raised in this life. The fields, fertile yet unforgiving, mirror Babylon's. Resilience is stained by cooperation and strict rules. As the sky darkens, you face a stark reality: without a place in this community. How could you endure another day of toil, let alone secure a future in this harsh, interconnected world? Night settles over Babylon's fields, and you collapse onto a patch of dry earth, exhausted from a day of grueling labor under the Mesopotamian stars. The fields, silent now except for the rustle of palm fronds and the distant gurgle of canals, have tested your limits. You've swung a sickle, carried sheaves, and glimpsed the intricate web of agriculture that feeds Babylon in 1800 BCE. But as a stranger, with no land, no kin, and no mastery of Akkadian, you're a fragile thread in this tapestry. The question looms: could you carve out a life in these fields? Or would their demands and rigid social order cast you out? The farmers, now resting in their mud brick homes, embody resilience. Their lives revolve around the Euphrates, its waters tamed by canals that require constant upkeep. Law 56 holds farmers accountable for flood damage, binding them to collective responsibility. This system ensures survival. One family's negligence could ruin an entire village's crop. Barley and wheat, stored in communal granaries, are currency traded for oil, cloth, or bronze. But you have no claim to this wealth. A farmer who offered you bread earlier did so out of charity, not obligation. Without a family or patron, you're excluded from the networks that distribute resources. Your body aches, blistered hands and sunburned skin, a testament to the field's brutality. Farmers endure this daily, their survival tied to skill and community. You've seen children learn to sow seeds, women grind grain, and men repair plows, each role defined by tradition. Slaves, bound by Law 16's threat of death for fleeing, labor silently, their presence a reminder of your precarious status. You're free, but freedom here means little without land or allies. Even small acts, like borrowing a tool, require trust you haven't earned. Hunger persists. The barley you harvested isn't yours, and scavenging risks theft charges under Law 7, punishable by death. A faint hope emerges. A farmer, impressed by your effort, suggests you return at dawn to haul water for a share of dates. It's a lifeline, but temporary. To belong, you'd need to learn Akkadian, master canal maintenance, or gain a patron's favor tasks requiring years. The field's rhythm, tied to seasons and floods, demands patience you can't afford. Yet, this agricultural system, with its canals and cooperative labor, built Babylon's wealth, feeding a city of 200,000 and sustaining an empire. Its legacy lives in modern irrigation and collective farming, where communities still balance individual effort with shared survival. As you lie under the stars, the field's quiet hum surrounds you. Babylon's farmers, through toil and law, turned a harsh land into abundance. A lesson in resilience that echoes today. Survival demands adaptation and connection. But for you, the outsider, the fields remain a crucible. Could you ever become part of this world, earning trust through sweat and time? Or would the unforgiving soil and its strict rules always mark you as a stranger destined to falter under their weight. Trade and commerce. Risks. In the bazaar you stand at the edge of Babylon's sprawling bazaar in 1800 BCE, the heart of commerce in Hammurabi's empire, where the air hums with the clamor of merchants, buyers, and beasts. The marketplace, nestled along the processional way, is a maze of stalls shaded by reed awnings, overflowing with goods from near and far. Heaps of barley, jars of sesame oil, bolts of dyed wool, and rare lapis lazuli from distant Afghanistan. As a stranger dropped into this vibrant yet unforgiving world, you're overwhelmed by the sights and sounds: donkeys braying, scribes scratching cuneiform on clay tablets, and vendors haggling in rapid Akkadian. Survival here means navigating the bazaar's complex web of trade, where opportunity and danger walk hand in hand. The bazaar is Babylon's economic pulse, connecting farmers, artisans, and traders in a system governed by Hammurabi's code. You watch a merchant weigh silver shekels on a balanced scale, adhering to Law 94, which demands honest measures or risks heavy fines. Goods are bartered or bought with silver, as coinage doesn't exist. A loaf of bread might cost a fraction of a shekel, but you have nothing to trade: no grain, no skills, no connections. Merchants eye you suspiciously. Your unfamiliar clothing and halting attempts at Akkadian mark you as an outsider, vulnerable to scams or accusations of theft. Law 7 looms large. Receiving stolen goods without proof of purchase means death. You weave through the crowd, dodging carts piled with dates and leeks, and notice the diversity of faces: traders from Elam, Assyria, and even Dilmun, their boats docked along the Euphrates. Long-distance trade brings wealth, but also risk. Caravans face bandits, and riverboats battle currents and storms. You overhear a merchant lament a lost shipment, now liable under Law 103 to repay his partners. The bazaar's energy is intoxicating, but its rules are strict. Scribes record every transaction, sealing tablets with cylinder seals to prevent fraud. Without one, you're defenseless in disputes. Could you barter labor for food? Porters earn a pittance 6 grains of silver daily, per Law 274, but competition is fierce, and slaves dominate such work. The physical toll of the bazaar is immediate. Dust clogs your throat, and the heat, unrelieved by shade, saps your strength. Clean water is scarce. Vendors sell beer, but it's costly, and canal water risks parasites. Pickpockets lurk, and a wrong move like bumping a noble's cart could spark a fight, judged harshly under Law 200. Social norms are a minefield. Men dominate trade, while women manage stalls or households, their roles defined by custom. As a stranger, you're invisible unless you err, drawing the attention of guards or informants. Hunger gnaws as you watch a vendor grill fish, its aroma taunting you. To survive, you'd need to learn the bazaar's rhythms, its prices, its players, its perils. But with no allies or goods, how do you even begin? As the sun climbs, the crowd thickens, and you wonder, in this bustling, cutthroat marketplace, could you find a way to trade, or would its dangers swallow you whole? The bazaar's din surrounds you as the sun beats down on Babylon's marketplace. In 1800 BCE, you've lingered among the stalls, watching merchants barter and scribes record deals, but as a stranger with no silver or goods, you're a ghost. In this vibrant economy, the air is thick with the scents of roasted barley, sweat, and river mud, and every step through the crowded lanes tests your wits. Survival in this bazaar means more than avoiding theft or scams. It demands mastering the unspoken rules of trade, trust, and social hierarchy that bind this chaotic hub together. You pause near a stall where a merchant trades wool for copper, ingots, his scales meticulously balanced to comply with Law 94's demand for fairness. Transactions here rely on trust, backed by clay tablets sealed with intricate cylinder seals, proof of ownership or debt. You have no such seal, no record of identity, making you a risk to any trader. A nearby dispute catches your ear. A buyer accuses a vendor of shortchanging him, citing Law 108, which threatens death for fraudulent tavern keepers. The crowd watches as a scribe reads the tablet, settling the matter with a fine. Justice is swift. But as an outsider, your vulnerable. Law 122 requires written contracts for deposits, and without one, you'd lose any claim in a dispute. The bazaar's diversity is striking. Traders from distant lands, Mari Susa, even the Indus Valley, bring cedar, tin, and spices, their goods carried by donkey or riverboat. You overhear tales of perilous journeys, bandits on desert routes, storms, sinking boats. Law 32 protects merchants by holding partners accountable for losses, but you have no partners, no capital. Could you work as a porter? The pay is meager, 6 grains of silver daily, barely enough for bread and slaves. Bound by Law 15's threat of death for escape dominate such jobs. A merchant might hire you to carry reeds, but one mistake, like damaging goods, could invoke Law 29's harsh penalties. Physical survival is as challenging as economic defeat is relentless, and your modern instincts, expecting clean water or shade, are useless. Canal water is unsafe, and beer, though common, costs more than you can offer. Your clothes, if still intact, draw stares, marking you as an oddity. Socially, you're adrift. Merchants greet each other with formal gestures while you fumble, risking offense. Women vendors, often widows or priestesses, wield influence but guard their networks tightly. A misstep, like haggling too aggressively, could brand you a troublemaker. Drawing guards who enforce Law 7's deadly theft penalties. As evening nears, the bazaar slows, but danger lingers. A kind vendor tosses you a stale flatbread, a fleeting reprieve from hunger. Yet, you're still exposed, no shelter, no allies. The bazaar's wealth flows through relationships, sealed by tablets and trust. But you're outside this web. Could you learn its rules, perhaps apprenticing with a trader? Or would the bazaar's relentless pace and hidden dangers overwhelm you before you find your place? Night falls over Babylon's bazaar, and the once frantic marketplace grows quiet, its stalls shuttered under the starlit sky of 1800 BCE, huddle in a shadowed corner, exhausted, your body aching from dodging carts and crowds all day. The bazaar, Babylon's economic heart, has revealed its dual nature, a place of opportunity where wealth flows like the Euphrates, but also a crucible where strangers like you face relentless risks with no silver, no seal, and no grasp of Akkadian. You've skirted scams and suspicion, but survival demands mar a way to belong in this tightly knit world of trade. The bazaar's order rests on Hammurabi's code, its laws etched into every deal. You recall a merchant citing Law 1:4, ensuring partners share profits fairly, their tablets sealed to avoid disputes. This system fuels Babylon's prosperity, linking farmers, artisans, and traders across vast distances. Goods like lapis lazuli or cedar arrive via perilous routes, yet the bazaar thrives because trust is enforced by scribes, seals, and the threat of Law 7's death penalty for theft. You, however, are outside this trust. A fleeting job carrying sacks earned you a scrap of bread. But without a patron or recorded contract, you're invisible. Your labor worth little more than a slave's. The physical toll lingers. Your throat is parched. Beer is safer than canal water, but you can't afford it. The dust and heat have left you drained. Your modern sensibilities useless against the bazaar's grind. Socially, you're a liability. Merchants rely on kin or guilds, and your outsider status invites distrust. A woman vendor, perhaps pitying you, offered a date. But even kindness is cautious. Strangers are potential thieves or debtors. Law 117 haunts you. Unpaid debts could mean 3 years of servitude. Every interaction, from bartering to begging, risks entangling you in the code's unyielding web. Yet, the bazaar's resilience is undeniable. Its traders, risking bandits and storms, connect Babylon to distant lands, building wealth through cooperation. A merchant who hired you briefly hints at another job tomorrow, a chance to carry goods to a riverboat. It's a slim hope, but survival here hinges on such openings, earning trust through small, honest acts. To thrive, you'd need years to learn Akkadian, master haggling, or secure a seal. For now, you're a shadow, scraping by on charity and fleeting work. As you rest, the bazaar's lessons sink in. Its systems tablets, laws, networks mirror modern markets where trust and records underpin trade. Babylon's bazaar, feeding and clothing a city of 200,000, shows how human ingenuity turns risk into prosperity. But for you, the outsider, the question persists. Could you ever weave yourself into this web, gaining a merchant's trust or a scribe's tablet? Or would the bazaar's relentless demands, its scams, laws, and unforgiving pace cast you out, leaving you to fade into the dust of its ancient lanes? Worship at the ziggurat, daily religious duties. You awaken at dawn in Babylon, 1800 BCE, near the towering ziggurat of Etemenanki, a stepped pyramid dedicated to Marduk, the city's patron god. The structure looms over the city, its 7 tiers of mud brick rising toward the heavens, crowned with a temple gleaming in the early light. As a stranger in this ancient world, you're drawn into the rhythm of religious life, where daily rituals bind Babylon's 200,000 souls to their gods. The air carries the scent of incense and baked offerings, but for you, unfamiliar with Akkadian and the intricate rites, participating in these duties is a perilous necessity. In a city where faith is law, a single misstep could mark you as an outcast or worse. The ziggurat's base is bustling with priests, worshippers, and laborers. Priests, clad in white linen robes, ascend the ramps to offer sacrifices, barley dates, or lambs to appease Marduk and ensure the city's prosperity. You watch a priestess pour oil into a brazier, her chants invoking Shamash, the sun god, as smoke curls skyward. These rituals, you learn, are not optional. Every citizen, from nobles to slaves, must honor the gods, as neglect invites divine wrath. Hammurabi's code reinforces this. Law 1 threatens death for false accusations against priests, underscoring their power. As an outsider, you're expected to join the offerings, but you have no goods to give, no understanding of the prayers. The crowd moves in practiced unison, bowing before statues of Ishtar and Atid, their gestures precise. You try to mimic them, but your awkwardness draws glances. The temple complex, sprawling around the ziggurat, includes shrines, storehouses, and courtyards where devotees leave clay figurines or grain. Women weave sacred textiles, while scribes record offerings on tablets, ensuring no gift is forgotten. You notice the social hierarchy. Nobles offer gold, commoners bring grain, and slaves labor in silence, cleaning altars or hauling water. Without status or kin, you're invisible, yet expected to conform. A priest's stern look reminds you that outsiders are suspect, potentially cursed by the gods. Physical survival adds to the challenge. The heat is relentless, and canal water, used for ritual purifications, is unsafe to drink. Hunger gnaws you. Sea worshippers share bread after offerings, but charity is reserved for known families. The ziggurats' steps are steep, and climbing them to deliver reeds for a laborer's wage exhausts you. Your modern instincts, suspecting clear rules or personal freedom, are useless here. Every gesture, from bowing to reciting prayers, follows rigid protocols. A wrong word could offend a priest, invoking Law 192's harsh penalties for disrespect. The gods, you're told, watch everything, and misfortune floods. Illnesses blamed on divine displeasure. As the day progresses, the crowd thickens, and you feel the weight of Babylon's faith. The ziggurat, a bridge between earth and heaven, demands your participation. But without knowledge or resources, you're adrift. Could you learn the rituals, earning a place among the devout? Or would the gods and their earthly enforcers? The sun climbs higher over Babylon's ziggurat in 1800 BCE, and you're still navigating the sacred precincts of Edamananki, where devotion to Marduk shapes every moment. The air hums with chants and the clatter of clay offerings, but as a stranger, you're a fragile thread in this tapestry of faith. Your lack of Akkadian and ritual knowledge makes every step a gamble. Participation is mandatory, but errors could brand you a blasphemer. Survival means blending into this religious world, where priests wield divine authority and the gods' favor is Babylon's lifeline. You linger near a shrine where priests burn sesame oil, their prayers invoking Marduk to protect the city's canals and crops. The ziggurats' ramps are busy. Laborers haul bricks for repairs, while priestesses carry baskets of dates to the temple above. You're roped into carrying reeds for an altar, a task earning a meager wage, 6 grains of silver per Law 274. But the work is grueling, and your unfamiliarity with the task draws frowns. The temple economy is vast, controlling land and grain, yet charity is scarce. A priest might offer bread to the poor, but only to known devotees. You, an outsider, receive nothing without proving your piety. Social dynamics are rigid. Priests and priestesses, marked by elaborate headdresses, command respect. Their authority backed by Law 110, which punishes those who disrespect sacred roles. You observe a noble offering, a gold amulet, his status clear in his fine robes, while commoners like you, if you're counted as such, bring humble grain. Slaves, bound by Law 15's threat of death for fleeing, sweep courtyards in silence. Your awkward gestures and silence during prayers mark you as different, risking accusations of impiety. A passerby whispers that neglecting rituals invites curses sickness or drought blamed on the gods' anger. Without kin to vouch for you, you're vulnerable to suspicion. The physical toll mounts. The ziggurats' steep ramps exhaust you, and the heat, unrelieved by shade, saps your strength. Ritual purifications require canal water, but drinking it risks parasites. And beer, the safer alternative, is beyond your means. Your modern clothes, if intact, draw stares, clashing with the linen tunics of worshippers. You try to mimic their bows, but the chants complex hymns to Ishtar or Adadar, impossible without years of training. A priest's sharp glance warns you, errors here aren't forgiven lightly. Law 127 threatens severe punishment for slandering a priestess, and even unintended disrespect could lead to exile or worse. A faint hope emerges. A laborer suggests you join the evening procession, carrying torches for a share of bread. It's a chance to belong, but the rituals are daunting, requiring precise steps and words. The ziggurat's power, tying Babylon's fate to the gods, is clear. Its priests ensure order, its offerings sustain prosperity. As dusk falls, you wonder, could you master these sacred duties, earning the gods' favor through effort, or would the unforgiving rites and watchful priests cast you out as an unworthy stranger? Night envelops Babylon's ziggurat, and you rest in the shadow of Edamananki's towering tiers. Exhausted from a day of navigating its sacred precincts in 1800 BCE, the chants have faded, leaving only the flicker of oil lamps and the scent of incense. You've carried reeds, mimicked prayers, and glimpsed the divine machinery that binds Babylon to its gods. But as a stranger with no Akkadian or ritual expertise, you're a precarious outsider in this world of faith. The ziggurat, a bridge to the divine, demands devotion. But your survival hangs on a thread. Could you ever belong, or will the gods' enforcers reject you? The temple's role in Babylon's survival is undeniable. Priests manage vast estates, their grain and wool feeding the city and funding rituals that appease Marduk, ensuring fertile fields and safe canals. You saw a scribe record offerings, each gift sealed on a tablet to honor the god's ledger. Law 1 protects this system, punishing those who challenge priestly authority. Yet, you have nothing to offer, no grain, no silver, a laborer's brief. Kindness, sharing bread after a torchlit procession, sustains you, but it's temporary. Without a role priest, weaver, or laborer, you're excluded from the temple's wealth and protection. The physical strain lingers. Your body aches from climbing ramps and hauling supplies, and thirst gnaws. Canal water, used for purifications, is unsafe, and beer is a luxury. The ziggurat's rituals, from dawn sacrifices to evening hymns, demand precision you can't muster. Socially, you're adrift. Priests and nobles, move with confidence, while you fumble, drawing suspicion. A priestess's glare, as you stumbled during a chant, reminded you of Law 192's threat. Disrespecting sacred roles means harsh punishment. Slaves, toiling silently, face worse. Law 16 promises death for escape, a grim warning of your precarious status. Hope flickers faintly. A laborer hints you could return at dawn, sweeping courtyards for a meal. It's a start, but belonging requires years learning Akkadian, mastering hymns, or securing a patron. The ziggurat's power lies in its unity. Priests, worshippers, and laborers work together, their faith sustaining Babylon's 200,000 souls. This system, tying devotion to survival, echoes in modern institutions, churches, governments where shared rituals build resilience. But for you, the outsider, the ziggurat is a crucible. Every misstep risks divine or human judgment, and charity, though present, favors the known. As you lie under the stars, the ziggurat looms, its tears a testament to Babylon's devotion. Its lessons endure. Faith, when organized, binds communities, turning individual acts into collective strength. Yet, you remain on the margins, your survival tied to fleeting kindnesses and grueling labor. The question lingers: could you learn the sacred chants, earning a place among the devout? Or would the ziggurat's rigid rites and watchful guardians forever mark you as an intruder, unworthy of the gods' favor and Babylon's embrace? Story 6. Meals of the Ancients. Babylonian diet and nutrition. You find yourself in a bustling Babylonian household in 1800 BCE. The air thick with the aroma of barley porridge simmering over a clay brazier. It's mealtime, a cornerstone of daily life in this ancient city of 200,000, where food is both sustenance and a marker of status. As a stranger, dropped into this world without knowledge of Akkadian or local customs, you're surrounded by a family preparing their meal in a mud brick courtyard. The challenge of securing food in Babylon is immediate without resources or connections. You face hunger in a society where every morsel is hard-earned and closely guarded. The Babylonian diet is simple but labor-intensive. The family grinds barley into coarse flour, mixing it with water to make flatbreads baked in a communal oven. You watch them scoop porridge from a pot flavored with onions, leeks, or dates from nearby orchards. Beer, a cloudy fermented brew sipped through red straws, is a staple safer than canal water, which carries silt and parasites. Hammurabi's code regulates food closely. Law 108 threatens death for tavern keepers who dilute beer, ensuring trust in this vital drink. But you have no silver to buy a sip, and charity is rare for outsiders. The family's meal, enough for their kin, leaves nothing for you. Food reflects the city's hierarchy. Nobles dine on lamb or fish, spiced with cumin or coriander, while commoners like this family rely on barley, lentils, and occasional cheese from goats. Slaves, bound by Law 15's threat of death for fleeing, might get only stale bread. You, without status or kin, are at the bottom, reliant on scraps or labor. The mother offers you a task grinding grain for a crust, but the heavy cornstone blisters your hands, and your inexperience slows you down. The family's suspicion is palpable. Strangers could be thieves, and Law 7's death penalty for theft looms over you. The physical toll of hunger is immediate. Your stomach growls, and the heat of the courtyard, unrelieved by shade, drains your strength. Canal water tempts you, but drinking it risks dysentery, a common killer in Babylon's crowded quarters. Socially, you're an outsider. Meals are communal, shared among family or trusted neighbors, and your awkward presence disrupts their rhythm. You try to mimic their gestures, eating with the right hand, bowing thanks to Enlil for the harvest, but your ignorance of prayers draws frowns. Food production is communal too. Fields and ovens are shared, but only by those within the network. As the meal ends, the family retreats to their roof to sleep, leaving you in the courtyard. The scent of bread lingers, a reminder of your exclusion. Babylon's diet sustains its people through resilience and cooperation. But for you, securing a meal means navigating a maze of labor, trust, and law. Could you earn a place at their table, or would hunger and suspicion keep you on the margins of this ancient world? The sun climbs higher in Babylon's sky, 1800 BCE, and you remain in the mud-brick courtyard. The family's meal, now a memory as they clear away clay bowls. The scent of barley bread and weak beer lingers, but hunger gnaws at you, a stranger with no claim to their food. In this city of 200,000, meals are a daily ritual, tying families to the land and each other. But for you, without Akkadian or connections, securing sustenance is a daunting task. Every bite in Babylon is governed by labor, law, and trust systems that excludes you unless you can prove your worth. You watch the mother knead dough for the next meal, her hands deft from years of practice. Barley, the backbone of the Babylonian diet, is ground daily, a task you're invited to try. The cornstone is heavy, and your clumsy efforts yield little flour, earning a sharp glance. Food preparation is communal. Women share ovens, men haul grain from fields, and children gather herbs. But this cooperation excludes outsiders. You're offered a chance to fetch water from a canal for a sip of beer. But the murky water, carried in a clay jar, is risky. Parasites cause fever, and healers rely on chance, not medicine. Law 108 ensures beer's quality, but you can't afford it without labor or barter. The diet's simplicity masks its fragility. Barley and wheat depend on canals, and a single flood punishable under law 55 could ruin crops, spiking prices. You overhear the father barter grain for sesame oil, a transaction recorded by a scribe to avoid disputes under Law 122. Without a clay tablet or seal, you're defenseless in such exchanges. Nobles might enjoy dates stuffed with nuts or roasted gazelle, but commoners, like this family, subsist on porridge, lentils, and occasional fish. Slaves fare worse, scraping by on scraps. Your status as a mushkinim, a landless commoner, leaves you scavenging for leftovers. But even that risks accusations of theft under Law 7's deadly penalty. Physically, the day wears you down. The heat, unrelieved by shade, and the dust from the courtyard choke you. Your modern expectations, clean water, quick meals, are useless. Socially, you're adrift. Meals strengthen family bonds, with prayers to Marduk for abundance. But your silence during these rituals marks you as an outsider. The family's children eye you warily, taught to distrust strangers who might steal their precious stores. A neighbor's offer to share a leak comes with a catch-carry firewood first. a task that exhausts your untrained body. As evening nears, the family prepares another meal, their chatter excluding you. A fleeting chance to grind more grain offers hope of a crust. But survival here demands more learning Akkadian, earning trust, or mastering a skill. Babylon's diet, built on cooperation and resilience, feeds a city but shuts out those without a place. Could you integrate into this cycle of labor and meals, or would hunger and the city's guarded ways keep you starving on the edges? Night falls over the Babylonian household, 1800 BCE, and you slump in the courtyard's corner, exhausted from a day of futile efforts to secure a meal. The family sleeps on their flat roof, leaving behind the faint scent of barley porridge and the sting of your exclusion. You've ground grain, hauled water, and glimpsed the intricate web of Babylon's diet, which sustains 200,000 through relentless labor and community. But as a stranger, with no Akkadian or kin, you're a ghost in this world of shared meals. Could you ever earn a seat at their table? Or will hunger and suspicion forever mark you as an outsider? The family's resilience is clear. Their diet: barley, flatbreads, lentils, dates, and beer relies on fields fed by Euphrates canals, maintained through collective effort. Law 53 holds farmers accountable for floods, ensuring crops for all. Meals are a ritual. Prayers thank Enlil for harvests, and neighbors share ovens, strengthening bonds. But you're outside this circle. A child's earlier pity, tossing you a stale crust, was a rare kindness, not a right. Without a tablet to record work or a seal to prove trust, you can't barter for food. Law 117's threat of debt slavery looms if you borrow grain and can't repay. Physically, you're breaking. Grinding barley blistered your hands, and thirst persists. Canal water risks illness, and beer, though safer, requires silver you don't have. Your modern habits, expecting refrigeration or clean water, are useless. Socially, you're a liability. The family's prayers and gestures, refined over generations, exclude you. Your clumsy attempt to join a blessing drew frowns, risking accusations of impiety. Under Law 192, slaves, scraping by on scraps, face worse. Law 16's death penalty for escape reminds you of your precarious status. Even small tasks, like fetching herbs, require trust you haven't earned. A faint hope flickers. A neighbor offers you work at dawn, cleaning an oven for a share of bread. It's a lifeline, but temporary. To belong, battling illness, medicine, and health practices you awaken in a cramped, mud brick house in Babylon, 1800 BCE. Your body racked with fever and a hacking cough. The air is heavy with the scent of dust and herbs, and the dim light reveals a family tending to a sick child, their faces etched with worry. In this city of 200,000, illness is a constant shadow, and as a stranger, with no knowledge of Akkadian or local customs, you're thrust into a world where health practices blend medicine, magic, and divine will. Survival means navigating Babylon. Rudimentary healing methods, where a misstep could mean death or accusations of bringing a curse upon the household. The family calls for an asu, a healer trained in herbal remedies and incantations, who arrives with a basket of roots and clay. Tablets. You watch him mix garlic and sesame oil, chanting to Gula, the goddess of healing. to expel the demon causing the child's fever. Medicine here is a mix of practical and spiritual. Herbs like myrrh soothe symptoms, but illness is often blamed on divine anger or sorcery. Hammurabi's code looms large. Law 218 demands a healer's hand be cut off for a failed surgery, a rare procedure you're thankful to avoid. Your own fever, likely from drinking canal water, leaves you weak, but you have no silver to pay an ASU. Health risks are everywhere. The Euphrates canals, vital for crops, breed parasites. Giardia and dysentery are common, especially in crowded quarters. You notice the family boils water with barley to make beer, a safer drink, but it's reserved for them. Sanitation is poor. Open drains carry waste, and flies swarm, spreading disease. The mother burns a reed mat to ward off evil spirits, a reminder that health is tied to ritual. As a stranger, your suspectfulness might mark you as cursed, and Law 148 allows a man to take a second wife if his first is chronically ill, showing how sickness disrupts social bonds. Your physical state worsens. The heat of the house, unrelieved by ventilation, intensifies your fever. And hunger nausea offered nothing, as food is scarce for outsiders. Socially, you're isolated. The family avoids you, fearing contagion or divine disfavor. You try to mimic their prayers to Gula, but your ignorance of Akkadian draws suspicion. Healers rely on community trust, and without kin or a tablet proving your status, you're left to fend for yourself. Could you find an ASU willing to help or barter labor for herbs? The risks are high. Law 221 rewards healers for success, but failure could brand you a burden. As the day wears on, your cough deepens and the family's whispers grow wary. Babylon's health practices, blending herbs and faith, sustain its people, but for a stranger, they're a maze of danger and exclusion. Could you navigate this world of demons and remedies, or would illness and suspicion consume you before you find relief? The sun climbs higher in Babylon, 1800 BCE, and you lie in the stifling courtyard of the mud brick house, your fever burning hotter and your cough relentless. The family's sick child whimpers nearby, tended by an ASU who mixes cumin and date syrup, chanting to drive out the illness's demon. As a stranger with no Akkadian or connections, you're a shadow in this household, where health practices are as much about faith as medicine. Survival demands accessing Babylon's healing system, but without resources or trust, you're at the mercy of a city that fears sickness as a divine curse. The Aju's work is meticulous but limited. He applies a poultice of myrrh and leeks to the child, reciting prayers to Gula and Shamash. You overhear that serious cases require a trip to the temple, where priests perform exorcisms, believing illness stems from angered gods or sorcery. Your own symptoms, fever, chills, likely from canal water, go untreated. The Asu, bound by Law 215, might heal a commoner for 5 shekels of silver, but you have nothing to offer. Bartering labor is an option, but your weakness makes even fetching water for the family's beer brewing impossible. Law 218's threat mutilation for a healer's failure makes the Asu wary of treating unknowns like you. Sanitation compounds your plight. The courtyard's open drain, buzzing with flies, spreads disease, and the family's clay latrine offers no privacy. You long for clean water, but canals are contaminated, and beer, though safer, is a family privilege. The mother burns incense to ward off spirits, but the smoke irritates your cough. Health is communal. Neighbors share remedies like onion broth for fever, but they shun you, fearing you're cursed. Law 192 punishes disrespect to sacred roles, and your inability to join prayers to Gula risks accusations of impiety. Socially, your apiasickness isolates you further in a city where trust is earned through kinship. Physically, you're fading. The heat, unrelieved by shade, worsens your fever, and hunger weakens you further. The family's barley porridge is for their own. You try to offer help, carrying reeds for the fire, but your trembling hands fumble, earning scorn. The ASU's glance suggests he suspects sorcery. Without a tablet proving your status, you're vulnerable to blame. Hammurabi's code protects healers, but not the sick law 148's. Allowance for abandoning a sick spouse shows how illness severs bonds. Could you find a temple offering charity, or would the priests, guarding their sacred space, turn you away? As evening falls, the family prepares a ritual meal, praying for the child's recovery, excluding you. A neighbor whispers of a healer who treats the poor for labor, a slim hope. Babylon's health system, blending herbs, prayers, and fear, sustains its people. But for you, it's a labyrinth of exclusion. Could you earn trust to access remedies, or would the city's fear of illness and its divine roots leave you to waste away in its shadows? Night blankets the Babylonian household, 1800 BCE, and you huddle in the courtyard's corner, your fever raging and cough unrelenting. The family sleeps on their roof, their sick child showing signs of recovery after the asus, poultices, and prayers. You, a stranger with no Akkadian or kin, remain untouched by Babylon's healing practices, a fragile outsider in a city where illness is both a medical and divine ordeal. Survival hinges on finding relief, but the barriers, suspicion, poverty, and rigid customs threaten to break you. Could you ever access this system, or will disease and distrust claim you? Babylon's health practices reveal its resilience. The ACU's remedies garlic, myrrh, and date syrupy's symptoms, while prayers to Gula seek divine favor, tying healing to faith. Temples store herbs and fund charity, but only for known devotees. You saw the family offer grain to a shrine, ensuring the child's recovery, but you have no such offering. Law 215 sets a healer's fee at 5 shekels, unaffordable without silver or barter. Your attempt to haul water for the family's beer earned a sip, but weakness halted you. Sanitation worsens your plight. Flies from open drains carry disease, and canal water, your only drink, fuels your fever. Socially, you're an outcast. The family's prayers, woven into meals, exclude you. Your silence during chants to enlil draws glares, risking Law 192's punishment for impiety. Slaves, bound by Law 16's death penalty for escape, fare little worse, ignored unless useful. Your illness marks you as cursed. Neighbors whisper of sorcery, and without kin to defend, you're vulnerable. Physically, your crumbling hunger and heat drain you, and the courtyard's dust chokes your lungs. Modern medicine is a distant dream. Here, healing blends herbs and incantations, effective only for those within the community. A faint hope emerges. A temple laborer mentions a priest who heals the poor for work, like sweeping courtyards. It's a chance, but your fever makes labor daunting. And temple rituals require precise Akkadian prayers you can't speak. Babylon's health system, sustaining a city of 200,000, mirrors its cooperative spirit families, share remedies, priests distribute alms, but you're outside this web. Its legacy lives in modern public health, where communities pool resources to combat disease, yet still struggle with access for outsiders. As you lie under the stars, the household's quiet hum underscores your isolation. Babylon's healers, blending faith and herbs, show human ingenuity in the face of illness, but their world demands trust you lack. A crust of bread tossed by a child keeps you alive, but it's fleeting. Could you learn the prayers, earn a healer's care, or labor for a temple's charity, weaving yourself into this ancient system? Or would Babylon's fear of sickness, its laws, and its guarded ways forever cast you out, leaving you to fade in the shadow of its mud brick walls? From slave to noble, social hierarchy and daily struggles you awaken in the dusty streets of Babylon. 1800 BCE, your wrists chafed from imaginary shackles. A stranger thrust into a city of 200,000, where social hierarchy dictates every breath. The towering walls and ziggurat loom in the distance, but your immediate reality is the rigid caste system: nobles, commoners, and slaves governed by Hammurabi's code. As an outsider, with no Akkadian, no kin, and no status, you're assumed to be a mushkinam, a landless commoner, or worse, a slave. Survival means navigating this unforgiving social ladder, where every interaction could elevate you or cast you into servitude. You stand near the city gate, where a noble in fine woolen robes strides past, his cylinder seal dangling from his neck, a mark of his AYM status. Below him, mushkinam laborers' hall reads, their wages set by law, 274, at 6 grains of silver daily. Slaves, marked by shaved heads or brands, toil under overseers, their lives bound by Law 15's death penalty for escape. You're caught in between, your modern clothes drawing stares. A merchant snaps at you to move, assuming you're a loiterer, and you realize that without a seal or tablet proving your status, you're vulnerable to accusation. Law 7 threatens death for receiving stolen goods without proof. Daily life reflects this hierarchy. Nobles dine on lamb and wine, their homes spacious with courtyards, while commoners eat barley porridge in cramped mud brick dwellings. Slaves survive on scraps, sleeping in corners. You're offered a task carrying water for a household, but the labor is grueling, and the family's suspicion is palpable. Strangers are potential thieves or runaways, and Law 117 warns that unpaid debts could enslave you for 3 years. Social customs are a minefield. You must bow to nobles, avoid eye contact with priestesses, and never interrupt a scribe's work or risk Law 192's punishment for disrespect. Physically, the city tests you. The heat is relentless, and canal water, murky with silt, risks dysentery. Hunger gnaws you, see a vendor's bread, but stealing invites Law 7's deadly penalty. Socially, you're adrift. Families rely on kin for protection, and guilds exclude outsiders. Your clumsy attempts to mimic greetings in Akkadian falter, marking you as an oddity. Could you find work to prove your worth, or barter for a meal? The hierarchy is unforgiving. Nobles wield power, commoners scrape by, and slaves endure brutality. As a stranger, you're nothing unless you can climb this ladder. As the day wears on, you linger near a tavern, hoping for charity, but the crowd shuns you. Babylon's social order, cemented by law and custom, sustains its prosperity, but crushes those without a place. Could you navigate this maze of status and suspicion, earning a foothold? Or would the city's rigid hierarchy forever trap you at its lowest rung? The sun beats down on Babylon, 1800 BCE, and you're still navigating its unforgiving streets, a stranger caught in the city's rigid social hierarchy. The tavern's chatter fades as you move toward the marketplace, where the divide between awalam, nobles, mushkinim, commoners, and slaves shapes every interaction. With no Akkadian, no seal, and no kin, you're a shadow in this world of 200,000, assumed to be a low-status mushkinim or worse. Survival demands climbing this social ladder, but every step risks plunging you deeper into servitude or punishment. You pause near a noble's house, its high walls and shaded courtyard, a stark contrast to the cramped huts of commoners. A scribe, etching a contract on a clay tablet, glances at you warily. Your lack of a seal marks you as untrustworthy. Law 122 requires written contracts for transactions, and without one, you're defenseless in disputes. You try bartering labor for food, offering to carry bricks for a builder. The work pays 6 grains of silver, daily law 274. But your untrained body struggles, and the overseer's whip threatens. Slaves and you if you falter. Law 199's penalty for harming a slave, half the victim's value, reminds you of your precarious status. Social rules are relentless. You observe a noble greeted with deep bows, his authority unquestioned, while commoners haggle over barley, their lives governed by thrift. Slaves, branded or shaved, move silently, their freedom forfeit under Law 16's death penalty for escape. You try to blend in, mimicking gestures, but your broken Akkadian draws suspicion. A misstep, like failing to yield to a priestess. Invoke Law 192's punishment for disrespect. The city's social fabric relies on kin and guilds. Without them, you're an outsider, vulnerable to accusations of theft or vagrancy, punishable by Law 7's death sentence. Physically, you're weakening. The heat and dust choke you, and canal water, your only drink, risks parasites. Hunger, nausea, vendors' dates tempt you, but stealing invites ruin. You're offered a task, sweeping a courtyard for a crust of bread, but the family watches closely, fearing you're a debtor fleeing Law 117's 3-year enslavement penalty. Socially, you're invisible unless you err, drawing guards or informants. Could you earn trust, perhaps as a laborer, or find a patron to vouch for you? Nobles exploit their status, commoners guard their meager wealth, and slaves endure silently, leaving you no clear path. As evening falls, the marketplace quiets, and you huddle near a canal, exhausted. A kind laborer shares a sip of beer, but its fleeting. Babylon's hierarchy offers no charity to strangers. The city thrives on its ordered classes, each role sustaining the whole, but for you, it's a labyrinth of exclusion. Could you learn the customs, earn a seal, or labor your way to acceptance? Or would the city's unyielding social order keep you trapped, a stranger teetering on the edge of survival? Night cloaks, Babylon, 1800 BCE, and you slump against a mud brick wall near the canal, your body aching from a day of grueling labor and relentless heat. The city's social hierarchy, nobles, commoners, slaves, has tested you, a stranger with no Akkadian, no seal, and no kin. You've swept courtyards and carried bricks, scraping by on a crust of bread, but Babylon's rigid order leaves you on the margins. Survival means finding a place in this stratified world, but the barriers of status, law, and suspicion threaten to crush you. Could you ever rise, or will you remain a shadow in this city of 200,000? The hierarchy's strength is its stability. Nobles, with their seals and wealth, command respect, their lives cushioned by law. 203's lighter penalties. Commoners, scraping by on barley and wages, cooperate through kin and guilds, while slaves, bound by Law 16's death penalty, toil without hope. You, treated as a mushkinim, face harsher punishments. Law 199's fines or mutilation for harming another's slave, and no network to protect you. A laborer's kindness, sharing beer, hints at hope, but it's temporary. Without a tablet proving your work or status, you're invisible, unable to barter or secure a patron. Physically, you're spent. The day's toil hauling reeds, dodging overseers, has left your hands blistered and your throat parched. Canal water, murky and parasite-laden, is your only drink, and hunger persists. Stealing food risks Law 7's death penalty. Socially, you're a pariah. Your clumsy gestures and silence in prayers to Marduk draw glares, risking Law 192's punishment for disrespect. Families rely on kin for survival, sharing meals and labor, but you're excluded, seen as a potential thief or runaway. Even small tasks, like fetching water, require trust you haven't earned. A glimmer of possibility emerges. A builder, impressed by your effort, offers work at dawn, promising a meal for carrying bricks. It's a start, but climbing the social ladder demands years learning Akkadian, earning a seal, or joining a guild. Babylon's hierarchy, cemented by Hammurabi's code, sustains its prosperity, enabling a city of 200,000 to thrive through cooperation and order. Its legacy echoes in modern societies, where status and networks still shape access to resources, though fairness remains elusive. As you rest under the stars, the city's hum surrounds you, a testament to its resilience. Nobles, commoners, and slaves, each in their place, weave a society that endures floods and wars. But for you, the outsider, the hierarchy is a crucible. A crust of bread keeps you alive, but survival hinges on fleeting charity and grueling labor. Could you master the customs, earn a noble's favor, or carve out a role among the commoners, weaving yourself into Babylon's fabric? Or would its unyielding laws and guarded classes forever cast you as a stranger, destined to languish at the bottom of its ancient order? A day in the life. A scribe's routine. You awaken at dawn in Babylon, 1800 BCE, in a modest mud brick house, surrounded by the tools of a scribe, clay tablets, reed styluses, and a small oil lamp. In this city of 200,000, scribes are the backbone of bureaucracy, recording laws, contracts, and offerings in cuneiform, the wedge-shaped script that binds Hammurabi's empire. As a stranger, thrust into this role without knowledge of Akkadian or the intricate writing system, you face a daunting challenge. A scribe's routine demands precision, literacy, and trust qualities you lack. Survival means mastering this craft, or risk falling into the margins of a society that reveres its record keepers. The day begins early. You're handed a damp clay tablet and a stylus, tasked with copying a grain inventory for a temple. The script, with hundreds of symbols, is bewildering. Each wedge must be perfect, as errors could void a contract or anger a priest. Scribes are vital. They record Hammurabi's code, like Law 122, mandating written agreements for deposits, ensuring trust in trade. But your untrained hand falters, and the tablet cracks, drawing a scowl from the master scribe. Without literacy, you're useless, and scribes, trained from childhood, guard their craft jealously. Failure here could mean dismissal or worse, suspicion of fraud under Law 7's death penalty. The scribe's world is one of privilege and pressure. You see nobles and merchants rely on scribes to seal tablets with cylinder seals, proving authenticity. Your lack of a seal marks you as an outsider, untrusted in this literate elite. The physical toll is subtle but real. Squinting in dim light strains your eyes, and sitting cross-legged for hours aches your back. Hunger, nausea, offered barley porridge, but only if you prove your worth. The city's canals, vital for the grain you record, carry parasites, and drinking water risks fever. Beer, safer but costly, is beyond your reach without pay. Socially, you're an anomaly. Scribes, often from elite families, command respect. Their work tied to the gods' records are offerings to Marduk. Your silence during prayers draws suspicion, risking Law 192's punishment for disrespecting sacred roles. The household hums with activity. Women weave, men barter, but scribes stand apart, their literacy a mark of status. As a stranger, you're watched closely. Mistakes could brand you a spy or heretic. Could you learn cuneiform's complexity, or barter labor for lessons? The stakes are high in a city where knowledge is power. As the morning unfolds, the master scribe assigns you a simpler task, sharpening styluses. It's menial, but a start. Babylon scribes, with their tablets and seals, weave the city's economic and religious fabric. But for you, their world is a labyrinth of skill and suspicion. Could you master their craft, earning a place among the elite? Or would your ignorance and outsider status cast you out before you begin? The sun climbs higher over Babylon, 1800 BCE, and you're still in the scribe's cramped workshop, surrounded by drying clay tablets and the faint scratch of styluses. The master scribe looms over you, his impatience growing as you struggle to copy a simple contract in cuneiform. As a stranger with no Akkadian or training, you're a liability in this elite world of literacy, where scribes uphold Hammurabi's code and Babylon's order. Survival means mastering this meticulous craft, but every wedge you carve risks error, exclusion, or suspicion in a city of 200,000 that venerates its record keepers. You're tasked with recording a barley sale, each symbol representing quantities or names. The master corrects your shaky wedges, muttering about Law 124, which demands accurate records to prevent fraud. A single mistake could nullify a deal or invite accusations of theft under Law 7's deadly penalty. Scribes are trusted to document everything: taxes, temple offerings, even disputes settled by Law 9's double repayment for faulty goods. Your lack of skill isolates you. The other scribes, trained since boyhood, exchanged knowing glances, their literacy a badge of status you can't claim. Without a seal or patron, you're defenseless in their world. The physical strain mounts. Your fingers cramp from gripping the stylus, and your eyes ache from deciphering tablets in flickering lamplight. The workshop's heat, unrelieved by ventilation, saps your strength, and thirst nos canal water risks parasites. And beer, the safer drink, is reserved for proven scribes. Hunger adds to your woes. A crust of bread is offered, but only if you finish a tablet. Socially, you're an outsider. Scribes recite prayers to Nabu, god of writing. The household relies on scribes for prestige, but your presence threatens their reputation. You observe the scribes' role in Babylon's web. They seal contracts for merchants, record grain for temples. Their work binds nobles, commoners, and slaves, but you, without cuneiform, are useless. A merchant's request for a tablet exposes your limits. You fumble, and the master reassigns you to cleaning clay. It's humbling, but a chance to stay. Could you learn Akkadian or barter labor for training? The stakes are high. Scribes wield power, but errors invite suspicion of sabotage or heresy as evening nears. The workshop buzzes with scribes sealing tablets for the day's trades. A kind apprentice offers to teach you a basic symbol, a slim hope. Babylon's scribes, with their precision and literacy, could you scale its walls, earning a stylus and a place? Or would your ignorance and the city's guarded hierarchy leave you scraping by in its shadows? Night falls over Babylon, 1800 BCE, and you huddle in the scribe's workshop, exhausted from a day of fumbling with clay tablets and styluses. The air smells of damp clay and oil lamps, now dim as the other scribes retire to their homes. You, a stranger with no Akkadian or cuneiform skills, remain a fragile outsider in this elite world, where literacy upholds Hammurabi's code and Babylon's prosperity. You've sharpened styluses and cleaned tablets, earning a scrap of bread. Exclusion in a city of 200,000 that reveres its record keepers, the scribes. Role is Babylon's backbone, their tablets, etched with contracts, taxes, and offerings, ensure order. Law 122 mandates written records for trust, while Law 9 enforces penalties for fraud. Temples and nobles rely on their precision, and their seals, rolled over clay, bind the city's economy. You, without a seal or literacy, are nothing, a mushkinum at best, suspect without proof of status. A kind apprentice taught you a single, cuneiform sign, but mastering hundreds takes years. Your clumsy efforts drew the master's ire. From dim light and hunger lingers the bread you earned, barely sustains you. Canal water, your only drink, risks illness, and beer, safer but costly, is for trusted scribes. Your silence risks Law 192's punishment for disrespecting sacred roles. The household shuns you, fearing your mistakes tarnish their prestige. Without kin or a guild, you're vulnerable to accusations of being a runaway or heretic. Hope flickers faintly. The apprentice suggests you return at dawn to mix clay, a menial task offering a meal. It's a start, but becoming a scribe requires fluency in Akkadian and cuneiform skills built over a lifetime. Babylon's scribes, with their tablets, weave a city of law, trade, and faith. Their legacy echoing in modern record-keeping, from archives to databases. Yet, for you, their world is a crucible of skill and suspicion. A scrap of bread keeps you alive, but survival hinges on fleeting charity and grueling labor as you rest under the stars. The workshop's quiet hum underscores your isolation. Babylon's scribes, through precision and trust, sustain an empire, but their craft demands a place you lack. Could you learn their symbols, earn a seal, or labor your way to acceptance, weaving yourself into this literate elite? Or would guarded hierarchy, its laws, its rituals, its unyielding standards forever cast you as a stranger, destined to toil in the shadows of its clay tablets and ancient order? Constructing Babylon, building an architecture you awaken at dawn in Babylon. 1800 BCE, amidst a cacophony of hammers and shouts near the city's massive mud brick walls. The air is thick with dust and the scent of baked clay as laborers toil under the rising sun to expand a temple complex. In this city of 200,000, construction is a monumental task, sustaining Babylon's grandeur through sweat and skill. As a stranger with no Akkadian or knowledge of ancient building techniques, you're thrust into this world of builders, where survival means proving your worth in a grueling, hierarchical trade. A single misstep could cast you out or worse, into servitude. You're handed a reed basket to carry sun-dried bricks, each heavy and rough, to a work site where workers shape Babylon's skyline. Mud brick is the city's lifeblood, cheap, durable, but labor-intensive, mixed with straw and baked in kilns. Hammurabi's code governs this work. Law 229 demands death for a builder whose faulty house collapses, killing its owner. Dropping a brick draws a curse, and you're reminded that slaves, bound by Law 15's death penalty for escape, dominate such tasks. The construction site reveals Babylon's hierarchy. Nobles oversee projects, their seals marking clay tablets that record wages 6 grains of silver daily for laborers, per Law 274. Commoners mix mud or haul reeds, while slaves toil under whips. You, a Mushkinam outsider, are watched closely. Your modern clothes and clumsy movements mark you as suspect. Hunger gnaws workers share barley porridge, but only with kin. Canal water, murky with silt, risks parasites, and beer, safer but costly, is beyond your reach. Physical toil is relentless. The heat sears your skin for disrespect. Strangers are potential thieves or runaways, and Law 117's threat of 3-year debt slavery looms. If you borrow food, could you learn to mix mud or carry loads to earn a meal? The site buzzes with purpose. Temples, walls, and canals sustain Babylon's empire, but for you, it's a crucible of labor and suspicion. A kind laborer offers you a chance to haul water for bread, but the task is punishing. As the morning unfolds, the city's walls gleam, a testament to its builder's skill. Yet, your place is precarious. Without strength or trust, you're expendable. Babylon's architecture, from ziggurats to homes, showcases human ingenuity, but for a stranger. It's a world of backbreaking work and rigid rules. Could you master this craft, earning a builder's respect? Or would the city's demands and watchful eyes crush you before you find a foothold? The sun climbs higher over Babylon, 1800 BCE, and you're still at the bustling construction site. Your arms aching from hauling mud bricks under the foreman's sharp gaze. The city's grandeur, its towering walls, ziggurats, and canals rises from the labor of builders. But as a stranger with no Akkadian or skill, you're a fragile cog in this machine. In a city of 200,000, construction fuels prosperity. Yet survival demands navigating a world of grueling work, strict laws, and social barriers. Every brick you carry is a test. Prove your worth or face exclusion in Babylon's unforgiving hierarchy. You're tasked with mixing mud and straw, a sticky, back-breaking job. The mixture, vital for bricks, must be precise to wet, and it crumbles, to dry, and it fails. The foreman cites Law 229, where a builder's error causing a death means execution, underscoring the stakes. Your clumsy efforts slow the team, drawing glares from laborers who rely on collective rhythm. You, a Mushkinam outsider, earn 6 grains of silver daily. Law 274, but only if you keep up. Without a seal or tablet, you're vulnerable to accusations of shirking or theft under Law 7's deadly penalty. The physical toll is crushing. The heat, unrelieved by shade, burns your skin, and dust clogs your throat. Canal water, used to mix mud, is unsafe to drink, risking dysentery, while beer, safer but scarce, is shared only among trusted workers. Hunger, nausea, laborers, barley bread tempts you, but stealing invites ruin. Socially, you're isolated. Builders chant to Enlil for strength. Brakes or tools are useless in this world of manual toil and rigid roles. The site reveals Babylon's ingenuity. Canals, maintained under Law 53 to prevent floods, and the foreman threatens to cast you out. Could you learn to shape bricks or gain a laborer's trust? Nobles oversee from shaded platforms, their wealth stark against the slave's misery. Without kin or skill, you're barely above a slave. Your labor cheap and your status precarious. As evening nears, the site slows, workers stacking bricks for tomorrow. A laborer, pitying your effort, shares a crust, but it's fleeting. Babylon's builders, with their mud bricks and laws. Could you master their techniques, earning a place, or would the city's relentless demands and guarded hierarchy keep you scraping by in its dust? Night falls over Babylon, 1800 BCE, and you collapse near the construction site, your body aching from hauling bricks and mixing mud under the relentless sun. The city's hum hammers silenced, canals gurgling surrounds you, a testament to its builder's craft. As a stranger with no Akkadian or skill, you're a shadow in this world of 200,000, where mud brick walls and ziggurats rise through sweat and law. You've earned a crust of bread, but survival demands more carving. A place in Babylon's building trade, or facing expulsion from its rigid order. Could you rise, or will toil and suspicion break you? 2 slaves work in unison, their efforts recorded on tablets sealed by nobles. Law 229's threat death for a fatal collapse ensures precision, but your inexperience makes you a risk. A laborer's kindness, sharing beer, offers fleeting relief, but without a seal or kin, you're invisible, unable to secure steady work. You're spent. Blisters mark your hands, and thirst persists. Canal water, used for bricks, risks illness and beer is a luxury for trusted workers. Hunger lingers. Stealing a date risks law, sevens, death penalty. Socially, you're an outcast. Builders pray to Enlil, their chants binding them to the gods. But your silence invites Law 192's punishment for disrespect. Families share meals and labor, but you, a Mushkinam stranger, are excluded, seen as a potential thief or runaway. Even fetching water requires trust you haven't earned. A faint hope emerges. A builder offers you work at dawn. It's a start, but mastering construction mixing mud, laying foundations stakes years. Babylon's builders, with their canals and ziggurats, showcase resilience, their legacy echoing in modern engineering. Yet, for you, their world is a crucible. A scrap of bread sustains you, but survival hinges on charity and back-breaking labor. Could you learn their craft, earn a foreman's nod, or join a guild, weaving yourself into Babylon's fabric? As you rest under the stars, the city's walls loom, a monument to its builder's skill. You're a speck in this ordered world where nobles command, commoners toil, and slaves suffer. Could you master the art of mud brick, earning a place among builders? The city, military, and protection you awaken at dawn in Babylon, 1800 BCE. To the blare of horns and the clatter of bronze weapons near the city's towering mud brick walls. The air carries the scent of dust and sweat as soldiers drill in the shadow of the Ishtar Gate. In this city of 200,000, defense is a constant concern, with threats of bandits, rival cities, and invaders looming. As a stranger with no Akkadian or martial skills, you're thrust into this world of military rigor. A misstep could mark you as a coward or spy, risking exile or death. You're roped into carrying water to a training ground, where soldiers practice with spears and sickle swords under a captain's stern eye. Babylon's army, a mix of conscripted commoners and professional warriors. That applies even to you, an untrained outsider. Without kin, you're suspect, vulnerable to Law 7's death penalty for perceived theft or betrayal. The military hierarchy is rigid. Awilum officers, clad in bronze-scale armor, command respect, their orders recorded on clay tablets. Commoners train with wooden shields, while slaves, bound by Law 15's death penalty for escape, haul supplies. You, an outsider, are watched closely. Your modern clothes mark you as odd, and your ignorance of Akkadian signals disloyalty. Physical demands are brutal. The heat saps your strength, and canal water, your only drink, risks parasites. Hunger gnaws soldiers eat barley porridge, but sharing is reserved for comrades. Soldiers chant to Marduk for victory, their camaraderie built on shared drills and kinship. Your silence during prayers risks Law 192's punishment for disrespecting sacred roles. The city's defenses, walls, gates, and patrols sustain its empire, but for you, they're a crucible of suspicion and toil. A kind soldier offers you a chance to carry shields for bread, yet your place is precarious without skill or trust. You're expendable. Could you earn a soldier's respect, or would Babylon's rigid order and watchful eyes cast you out before you find a foothold? The sun climbs higher over Babylon, 1800 BCE, and you're still at the training ground, your arms aching from hauling heavy shields under the captain's piercing gaze. The city's towering walls and the Ishtar Gate loom nearby, symbols of Babylon's military might. As a stranger with no Akkadian or combat skills, you're a frail thread in this disciplined web, where survival demands proving loyalty in a world of drills, laws, and suspicion. Every move tests you file for shirking duty, a threat that hangs over you as an untrained mushkinam. 7's death penalty. Soldiers, a mix of conscripted commoners and elite awa'ilam, train in formation, their loyalty cemented by kinship and shared hardship. You, an outsider, lack both, your modern habits useless in this world of martial rigor. Physical toil is relentless. The heat scorches your skin, and dust chokes your lungs. Canal water, used for drinking, risks dysentery, while beer, safer but scarce, is shared only among trusted soldiers. Hunger, nausea, vendors' flatbread tempts you, but stealing invites. Law 7's punishment. Socially, you're an outcast. Soldiers pray to Adad for strength. Their chants a bond you can't join, risking Law 192's penalty for disrespect. The camp's hierarchy is clear: officers dine on lamb, commoners on barley, and slaves bound. By Law 15's death penalty, haul supplies in silence. Patrols guard canals, ensuring crops under Law 53, while walls repel invaders. You're offered a chance to carry spears for a crust of bread, but your weakness slows you, and the captain threatens to expel you. Could you learn basic drills or gain a soldier's trust? Without kin or skill, you're barely above a slave. Your labor cheap and your status fragile. Babylon's defenses, from fortified gates to trained armies. As evening nears, the drills slow, soldiers stacking weapons for dawn. A soldier, pitying your effort, shares a sip of beer, but its fleeting. Babylon's military offers no charity to strangers. The city thrives on its disciplined forces, but for you, it's a world of sweat and suspicion. Could you master a spear, earn a captain's nod, or labor your way to acceptance? Or would the city's unyielding order keep you teetering on the edge of survival? Night cloaks, Babylon, 1800 BCE, and you slump near the training ground, exhausted from hauling shields and water under the relentless sun. The city's walls and Ishtar Gate stand sentinel, their grandeur a testament to Babylon's military might, protecting 200,000 souls. As a stranger, with no Akkadian or martial prowess, you're a shadow in this disciplined world, surviving on a scrap of bread earned through grueling labor. The military, bound by Hammurabi's code, sustains the empire. But for you, it's a crucible of toil and suspicion. Could you find a place, or will Babylon's rigid order cast you out? The army's strength lies in its unity. Officers, clad in bronze, command with authority, their orders etched on tablets, sealed with cylinder seals. Commoners drill with spears, while slaves, bound by Law 15's death penalty for escape, carry supplies. Law 26's threat death for desertion looms over all, including you, a mushkinam outsider with no proof of loyalty. Your clumsy efforts to stack spears drew scorn. Without kin or a seal, you're vulnerable to Law 7's penalty for perceived betrayal. A soldier's kindness, sharing beer, offers brief respite, but trust is reserved for comrades, not strangers. Physically, you're broken. Blisters mark your hands, and thirst persist. Canal water, used for camp tasks, risks illness, and beer is a luxury for proven soldiers. Hunger lingers. Stealing a crust risks Law 7's death penalty. Socially, you're a pariah. Soldiers, prayers to Marduk bind them, but your silence invites Law 192's punishment for disrespect. The camp's camaraderie, built on shared drills, excludes your modern instincts. Expecting rest or fairness are useless. Even fetching water requires trust you haven't earned, and whispers brand you a potential spy. Hope flickers. A soldier offers you work at dawn, hauling ropes for a gate repair, promising a meal. It's a start, but joining the ranks demands years learning Akkadian, mastering combat, or securing a patron. Babylon's defenses, from walls to patrols, reflect human resilience, their legacy echoing in modern militaries, where discipline and cooperation prevail. Yet, for you, this world is unforgiving. A scrap of bread sustains you, but survival hinges on fleeting charity and backbreaking toil. As you rest under the stars, the city's quiet hum underscores your isolation. Babylon's military, with its laws and faith, guards an empire, but its hierarchy shuns outsiders. You're a speck in this ordered world, where officers command, commoners fight, and slaves suffer. Could you learn a soldier's drill, earn a captain's trust, or labor into acceptance, weaving yourself into Babylon's defenses? Or would its relentless demands, its laws, its rituals, its guarded ranks forever mark you as a stranger, destined to collapse under the weight of its ancient walls? Trading in the market, commerce and barter awaken at dawn in Babylon, 1800 BCE. Amidst the clamor of the bustling marketplace near the city's mud brick walls. The air is thick with the scent of spices, barley, and sweat as merchants hawk wares under reed awnings. In this city of 200,000, trade is the lifeblood, connecting farmers, artisans, and nobles through a web of barter and silver. As a stranger, with no Akkadian or goods to offer, you're thrust into this chaotic world of commerce, where survival means navigating a complex system of trust, law, and negotiation. A single misstep could mark you as a thief or outcast. You linger near a stall piled with dates and lentils, where a merchant seals a deal with a clay tablet, its cuneiform recording a barley exchange. Hammurabi's code governs this chaos. Law 122 mandates written contracts for deposits, ensuring trust, while Law 7 threatens death for receiving stolen goods without proof. You, with no seal or tablet, are suspect your modern clothes draw, stares, and your silence in Akkadian marks you as an outsider. A vendor offers you a task carrying baskets for a crust of bread, but your inexperience slows you, risking his scorn. The market reflects Babylon's hierarchy. Awilum nobles barter for wool and bronze, their seals proving status, while Mushkinum commoners trade grain or labor. Slaves, bound by Law 15's death penalty for escape, haul goods in silence. You, a landless Mushkinum at best, have nothing to trade, and hunger gnaws canal water, murky with parasites, is your only drink, and beer, safer but costly, is beyond reach. Physical toil is grueling. Hauling baskets strains your muscles, and the heat saps your strength under the relentless sun. Socially, you're adrift. Merchants chant to Nabu for prosperity, their deals sealed with prayers. but your silence risks Law 192's punishment for disrespecting sacred roles. The market thrives on trustkin, and guilds verify transactions, but as a stranger, you're excluded, seen as a potential thief. Law 117's threat of 3-year debt slavery looms if you borrow goods and can't repay. Could you barter labor for a meal or learn the market's rhythm? A kind vendor offers you a chance to sweep his stall for dates, but the task demands caution. As morning unfolds, the market pulses with life, its stalls a testament to Babylon's wealth. Yet, your place is precarious. Without goods or trust, you're expendable. The city's commerce, governed by law and faith, fuels an empire, but for a stranger, it's a maze of suspicion and toil. Could you master the art of barter, earning a foothold, or would Babylon's guarded market cast you out before you secure a single trade? The sun climbs higher over Babylon's marketplace, 1800 BCE, and you're still weaving through crowded stalls, your arms aching from carrying baskets of grain for a vendor. The air hums with haggling and the clink of silver shekels as merchants trade wool, dates, and pottery in a city of 200,000. As a stranger with no Akkadian or goods, you're a ghost in this vibrant commerce where survival demands mastering barter and navigating Hammurabi's strict laws. Every step tests you falter, and you risk accusations of theft or exile in this unforgiving web of trade. You're tasked with stacking clay jars for a merchant who records the deal on a tablet, citing Law 122's demand for written contracts to prevent fraud. Your clumsy stacking nearly topples a jar, drawing a shout without a seal or tablet. You're vulnerable to Law 7's death penalty for theft if goods go missing. Merchants rely on scribes to document trades, and nobles, with their cylinder seals, command the best deals. You, a Mushkinim outsider, have only your labor, earning a few grains of silver. Law 274, but one mistake could cost you everything. Physical strain is relentless. The heat scorches your skin, and dust clogs your throat. Canal water, used to wash stalls, risks parasites, while beer, safer but reserved for trusted traders, is beyond your reach. Hunger nausea vendors' bread tempts you, but stealing invites Law 7's punishment. Socially, you're isolated. Merchants pray to Shamash for fair deals. Their chance, a bond you can't join, risking Law 192's penalty for disrespect. The market's trust, built on kin and guilds, excludes you. Your modern instincts, expecting clear prices, are useless in this world of barter and ritual. The market's role is vital. Canals, protected by Law 53, irrigate fields that supply grain, while trade links Babylon to distant cities. You're offered a chance to carry wool for a sip of beer, but your weakness slows you, and the merchant threatens to cast you out. Could you learn to haggle or gain a vendor's trust? Nobles barter for luxuries, commoners for necessities, and slaves toil silently. There lives a warning of your precarious status. Without goods or kin, you're barely above a slave, your labor cheap and your place fragile. As evening nears, the market slows, merchants tallying tablets for the day's trades. A vendor, pitying your effort, shares a date, but its fleeting Babylon's commerce offers no charity to strangers. The city thrives on its markets, where law and faith ensure prosperity, but for you, it's a labyrinth of toil and suspicion. Could you master the art of trade, earning a place? Or would the city's guarded stalls and rigid hierarchy keep you scraping by in its dust? Night falls over Babylon's marketplace, 1800 BCE, and you slump near a quiet stall, exhausted from hauling baskets and stacking jars under the relentless sun. The city's vendors gone, canals murmuring surrounds you, a testament to its thriving commerce. As a stranger with no Akkadian or goods, you're a shadow in this world of 200,000, surviving on a single date earned through grueling labor. Babylon's markets, governed by Hammurabi's code, fuel an empire, but for you, they're a crucible of toil and suspicion. Could you find a place, or will the city's rigid order cast you out? The market's strength lies in its order. Merchants, with clay tablets and seals, record trades under Law 122, ensuring trust, while Law 9 penalizes fraud with double repayment. Nobles barter for bronze and wool, commoners for grain, and slaves, bound by Law 15's death penalty for escape, haul goods in silence. You, a Mushkinam outsider, lack a seal or kin, making you vulnerable to Law 7's penalty for theft. A vendor's kindness, sharing a date, offers brief relief, but trust is reserved for those within the network, not strangers like you. Physically, you're broken. Blisters mark your hands, and thirst persists. Canal water, used for cleaning, risks illness, and beer is a luxury for trusted traders. Hunger lingers. Stealing a crust risks Law 7's death penalty. Socially, you're a pariah. Merchants' prayers to Nabu bind them, but your silence invites Law 192's punishment for disrespect. The market's camaraderie, built on shared deals, excludes you. Your modern expectations of fair trade are useless. Even carrying baskets requires trust you haven't earned, and whispers brand you a potential thief. Hope flickers. A merchant offers work at dawn, sweeping his stall for a meal. It's a start, but mastering trade haggling, learning Akkadian, or securing a seal takes years. Babylon's markets, with their canals and tablets, showcase resilience. Their legacy echoing in modern commerce, where trust and records drive economies. Yet, for you, this world is unforgiving. A single date sustains you, but survival hinges on charity and back-breaking labor. As you rest under the stars, the market's quiet pulse underscores your isolation. Babylon's commerce, with its laws and faith, sustains an empire, but its hierarchy shuns outsiders. You're a speck in this ordered world where nobles prosper, commoners barter, and slaves toil. Could you learn the art of trade, earn a merchant's trust, or labor into acceptance, weaving yourself into Babylon's markets? Or would its relentless demands, its laws, its rituals, its guarded stalls forever mark you as a stranger, destined to fade in the shadows of its ancient trade? Worship and rituals. Religious life in Babylon. You awaken at dawn in Babylon, 1800 BCE, to the sound of chanting priests and the scent of burning myrrh drifting from a nearby temple. The city of 200,000 hums with devotion, its towering ziggurat a testament to the gods who govern every aspect of life. As a stranger with no knowledge of Akkadian or sacred rites, you're thrust into this world of religious fervor, where survival means navigating a complex web of rituals, offerings, and divine laws. A single misstep could brand you a heretic, risking exile or death in a society where faith is as vital as bread. You're drawn to a temple courtyard, where priests in white robes prepare offerings of barley and dates for Marduk, Babylon's chief god. Hammurabi's code underscores the sacred law. 192 threatens tongue-cutting for disrespecting priests, and your ignorance of Akkadian prayers makes you suspect. You're tasked with carrying reeds for a ritual fire, a menial role. But your clumsy handling draws glares. Strangers are potential defilers. Without a seal or kin, you're vulnerable to accusations of impiety, punishable under Law 7's death penalty for disrupting sacred order. Religious life shapes Babylon's hierarchy. Nobles offer lambs to secure divine favor, while commoners bring grain and slaves, bound by Law 15's death penalty for escape, sweep temple floors. You, a Mushkinam outsider, have nothing to offer, and hunger gnaws canal water. Murky with parasites is your only drink, and beer used in offerings is beyond reach. Physical toil is grueling. Hauling reeds under the sun strains your muscles, and the heat saps your strength, unrelieved by shade. Socially, you're an outcast. Rituals, from prayers to enlil to animal sacrifices, bind the community. But your silence during chants risks Law 192's punishment. Priests and devotees, you warily fearing you're cursed or a spy. The temple's wealth, gold, incense, stored grains, stains the city, but only for those within its sacred circle. Could you learn the prayers or labor for a priest's favor? A kind acolyte offers you a chance to clean an altar for bread, but the task demands precision. As morning unfolds, the temple pulses with devotion. Its ziggurat, a bridge to the gods. Yet your place is precarious. Without faith or skill, you're expendable. Babylon's religious life, with its offerings and laws, binds its people to the divine. But for a stranger, it's a maze of suspicion and toil. Could you master the rituals, earning a place in this sacred world, or with the city's guarded faith? The sun rises higher over Babylon, 1800 BCE, and you're still in the temple courtyard, your arms aching from hauling reeds for a ritual fire. The air is heavy with incense and the chants of priests offering barley to Marduk, the city's protector. In this city of 200,000, religion weaves every life, from noble to slave. But as a stranger, with no Akkadian or knowledge of sacred rites, you're a shadow in this divine order. Survival demands navigating Babylon's rituals, where faith, law, and suspicion govern all. A misstep could mark you as a heretic, risking exile or worse. You're tasked with arranging dates on an altar. A simple job, but your unfamiliarity with the precise placement angers a priest. Hammurabi's code looms. Law 192 threatens punishment for disrespecting sacred roles, and your silence in prayers draws suspicion. Priests etch offerings on clay tablets, ensuring divine favor under Law 122's mandate for records. But you, without a seal, are defenseless against accusations of defilement. The temple's hierarchy is clear. Nobles offer gold, commoners grain, and slaves, bound by Law 15's death penalty, scrub floors. You, a Mushkinam outsider, are barely tolerated, your labor cheap. Physically, the work exhausts you. The heat, unrelieved by shade, burns your skin, and dust from the courtyard chokes you. Canal water, used to wash altars, risks parasites, while beer, poured for gods, is denied to you. Hunger gnaws a priest's bread tempts you, but stealing invites Law 7's death penalty. Socially, you're isolated. Rituals, from sacrifices to chants for Enlil, bind the faithful. But your ignorance of Akkadian prayers risks Law 192's wrath. Are useless in this world of divine scrutiny. The temple's role is vital. It stores grain, funds charity, but your weakness slows you, and a priest threatens to expel you. Could you learn the chants or gain a priest's trust? Without kin or offerings, you're vulnerable, seen as a potential defiler. Babylon's faith, with its ziggurats and sacrifices, sustains its empire, but for you, it's a labyrinth of toil and suspicion. As evening nears, the temple glows with torchlight priests preparing a grand offering. An acolyte, pitying your effort, shares a date, but its fleeting Babylon's rituals offer no charity to strangers. The city thrives on its devotion, where law and faith ensure divine favor. But for you, it's a world of exclusion. Could you master the sacred rites, earning a place, or would the city's guarded temples and rigid order keep you scraping by in its holy shadows? Night cloaks, Babylon, 1800 BCE, and you slump near the temple courtyard, exhausted from hauling reeds and arranging offerings under the relentless sun. The ziggurat looms, its steps a bridge to the gods, while chants to Marduk echo faintly. As a stranger with no Akkadian or ritual knowledge, you're a shadow in this city of 200,000, surviving on a single date earned through grueling labor. Babylon's religious life, governed by Hammurabi's code, binds its people to the divine. But for you, it's a crucible of toil and suspicion. Could you find a place? Or will the city's sacred order cast you out? The temple's power is undeniable. Priests, with clay tablets and seals, record offerings under Law 122, ensuring trust, while Law 192 punishes disrespect with mutilation. Nobles offer lambs, commoners grain, and slaves, bound by Law 15's death penalty, sweep holy grounds. You, a Mushkinam outsider, lack offerings or kin, making you vulnerable to Law 7's penalty for defilement. An acolyte's kindness, sharing a date, offers brief relief, but trust is reserved for the faithful, not strangers like you. Physically, you're spent. Blisters mark your hands, and thirst persists. Canal water, used for rituals, risks illness, and beer poured for gods is denied you. Hunger lingers, stealing a crust risks Law 7's death penalty. Socially, you're a pariah. Priests' prayers to Enlil bind the community, but your silence invites Law 192's punishment. The temple's unity, built on shared rites, excludes you. Your modern hopes for inclusion are useless. Even carrying incense requires trust you haven't earned, and whispers brand you a potential heretic. Hope flickers. An acolyte offers work at dawn, cleaning an altar for a meal. It's a start, but mastering rituals, learning Akkadian, chanting prayers takes years. Babylon's faith, with its ziggurats and offerings, showcases resilience. Its legacy echoing in modern religions, where rituals unite communities. Yet, for you, this world is unforgiving. A single date sustains you, but survival hinges on charity and back-breaking labor. As you rest under the stars, the temple's quiet glow underscores your isolation. Babylon's religious life, with its laws and devotion, sustains an empire, but its hierarchy shuns outsiders. You're a speck in this sacred world, where priests wield power, commoners worship, and slaves toil. Could you learn the chants, earn a priest's favor, or labor into acceptance, weaving yourself into Babylon's divine order? Or would its relentless demands, its laws, its rituals, its guarded altars forever mark you as a stranger, destined to fade in the shadows of its ancient gods? Feeding the city, agriculture and food production, you awaken at dawn in Babylon, 1800 BCE, to the sound of ox-drawn plows and the scent of damp earth along the Euphrates canals. The fields stretch wide, feeding a city of 200,000 through relentless labor and intricate irrigation. As a stranger with no Akkadian or farming skills, you're thrust into this world of agriculture, where survival means proving your worth in a backbreaking, hierarchical system. In this empire, governed by Hammurabi's code, a single misstep could mark you as a shirker or thief, risking exile, or worse, in a society where food is power. You're handed a wooden hoe to break soil near a canal, a task vital to growing barley, the city's staple. The foreman, overseeing laborers, cites Law 53, neglecting canal maintenance risks, flooding fields, and heavy fines. Your untrained hands blister quickly, and your clumsy work draws glares without a seal or kin. You're suspect, vulnerable. 2 Law 7's death penalty for theft if grain goes missing. Slaves, bound by Law 15's death penalty for escape, toil nearby, while Mushkinum commoners, plant and nobles oversee from shaded platforms. Agriculture shapes Babylon's hierarchy. Nobles own vast fields, their wealth recorded on clay tablets, while commoners farm for wages 6 grains of silver daily, per Law 274. You, a Mushkinum outsider, have no land or tools, and hunger Noscanal water, murky with parasites, is your only drink, and beer, safer but costly, is reserved for trusted workers. Physical toil is brutal. The heat sears your skin, and hoeing strains your muscles. Unrelieved by rest, socially, you're isolated. Farmers chant to Ninurta, god of agriculture, for bountiful harvests. But your silence during prayers risks Law 192's punishment for disrespect. The fields thrive on kin-based cooperation. Excluding you, your modern instincts, expecting tools or breaks, are useless. Could you learn to plant or maintain canals to earn bread? A kind farmer offers you a chance to haul water for a meal, but the task is grueling and suspicion lingers as morning unfolds. The fields hum with purpose, their canals a lifeline for Babylon's survival. Yet your place is precarious without skill or trust. You're expendable. The city's agriculture, with its irrigation and laws, feeds an empire, but for a stranger, it's a maze of toil and suspicion. Could you master the hoe, earning a farmer's respect, or would Babylon's guarded fields and rigid order cast you out before you secure a foothold? The sun climbs higher over Babylon's fields, 1800 BCE, and you're still laboring along the Euphrates, your hands blistered from wielding a wooden hoe. The canals glisten, irrigating barley and date palms that feed a city of 200,000. But as a stranger, with no Akkadian or farming skills, you're a fragile link in this vital system. Survival demands mastering agriculture's grueling rhythm. Governed by Hammurabi's code, where every furrow tests your worth. Fail, and you risk accusations of neglect or theft in a world where food production is both livelihood and law. You're tasked with clearing silt from a canal, a job critical to preventing floods under Law 53, which imposes fines for negligence. Your slow, clumsy work angers the foreman without a seal or tablet. You're vulnerable to Law 7's death penalty if grain is lost. Farmers, from Mushkinum, commoners, to slaves bound by Law 15's death penalty, work in unison, their rhythm honed by years. You, an outsider, disrupt their flow, your modern clothes marking you as suspect. Nobles, overseeing from shaded carts, record yields on tablets, their wealth tied to your labor. Physical strain is relentless. The heat burns your skin and mud clogs your throat. Canal water, used for irrigation, risks parasites, while beer, safer but shared only among kin, is beyond reach. Hunger, nausea, farmer's barley bread tempts you, but stealing invites Law 7's punishment. Socially, you're an outcast. Farmers pray to Ninurta for fertile soil, their chants a bond you can't join, risking Law 192's penalty for disrespect. The field's community, built on shared labor, excludes you. Your modern expectations of rest are useless in this world of endless toil. Agriculture's role is central. Canals, maintained under Law 53, sustain crops that feed Babylon and fuel trade. You're offered a chance to plant barley for a sip of beer, but your weakness slows you, and the foreman threatens to expel you. Could you learn to tend canals or gain a farmer's trust? Without kin or skill, you're barely above a slave. Your labor cheap and your status fragile. The fields, with their ordered rows, showcase Babylon's ingenuity, but for you, they're a labyrinth of sweat and suspicion. As evening nears, the fields quiet. A farmer, pitying your effort, shares a date, but its fleeting Babylon's agriculture offers no charity to strangers. The city thrives on its fields, where law and faith ensure abundance. But for you, it's a world of exclusion. Could you master the plow, earn a place? Or would the city's guarded harvests and rigid hierarchy keep you scraping by in its fertile dust? Night falls over Babylon's fields, 1800 BCE, and you slump near a canal, exhausted from hoeing soil and clearing silt under the relentless sun. The air hums with the faint trickle of water, sustaining crops that feed a city of 200,000. As a stranger with no Akkadian or farming skills, you're a shadow in this vital world, surviving on a single date earned through grueling labor. Babylon's agriculture, governed by Hammurabi's code, fuels an empire, but for you, it's a crucible of toil and suspicion. Could you find a place, or will the city's rigid order cast you out? The field's strength lies in their system. Canals maintained under Law 53 to prevent floods. Irrigate barley and dates, recorded on tablets by nobles, scribes. Farmers, from commoners to slaves bound by Law 15's death penalty, work in harmony, their yields sustaining trade and temples. You, a Mushkinum outsider, lack land or kin, making you vulnerable to Law 7's penalty for theft if crops go missing. A farmer's kindness, sharing a date, offers brief relief, but trust is reserved for those within the community, not strangers like you. Physically, you're spent. Blisters mark your hands, and thirst persists. Canal water, used for irrigation, risks illness, and beer, a staple for workers, is denied you. Hunger lingers. Stealing a crust risks Law 7's death penalty. Socially, you're a pariah. Farmers' prayers to Ninurta bind them. But your silence invites Law 192's punishment for disrespect. The field's unity, built on shared labor, excludes you. Your modern hopes for fairness are useless. Even hauling water requires trust you haven't earned, and whispers brand you a potential shirker. Hope flickers. A farmer offers work at dawn, spreading seeds for a meal. It's a start, but mastering agriculture, tending canals, sowing crop stakes. Years. Babylon's fields, with their irrigation and laws, showcase resilience. Their legacy echoing in modern farming, where systems feed millions. Yet, for you, this world is unforgiving. A single date sustains you, but survival hinges on charity and back-breaking labor. As you rest under the stars, the field's quiet pulse underscores your isolation. Babylon's agriculture, with its laws and faith, feeds an empire, but its hierarchy shuns outsiders. You're a speck in this ordered world, where nobles prosper, commoners sow, and slaves toil. Could you learn the plow, earn a farmer's trust, or labor into acceptance, weaving yourself into Babylon's fertile order? Or would its relentless demands, its laws, its rituals, its guarded crops forever mark you as a stranger, destined to fade in the shadows of its ancient fields? Crafting the city, artisans and their trades you awaken at dawn in Babylon, 1800 BCE, to the rhythmic tap of hammers and the scent of fired clay in a bustling artisan quarter. The city of 200,000 thrives on the skilled hands of potters, weavers, and smiths, whose crafts shape daily life and trade. As a stranger, with no Akkadian or knowledge of ancient techniques, you're thrust into this world of craftsmanship, where survival means proving your worth in a meticulous, hierarchical trade. A single error could mark you as useless or a thief, risking exile in a society governed by Hammurabi's code. You're handed a lump of clay to shape into a pot, a task for a potter's apprentice. The clay is slick and the wheel unforgiving. Your first attempt collapses, drawing the master's scowl. Law 274 sets artisan wages at 6 grains of silver daily. But you, a Mushkanam outsider, must prove skill to earn it. Without a seal or kin, you're suspect, vulnerable to Law 7's death penalty for theft if tools go missing. Slaves, bound by Law 15's death penalty for escape, sweep the workshop, while commoners craft and nobles order fine goods. The artisan quarter mirrors Babylon's hierarchy. Nobles commission bronze blades, their seals on tablets, ensuring quality, while commoners weave cloth for daily use. You have no craft to offer, and hunger gnaws canal water, murky with parasites, is your only drink, and beer, safer but costly, is for skilled workers. Physical toil is intense. Kneading clay strains your arms, and the heat of the kiln sears your skin, unrelieved by shade. Socially, you're an outsider. Artisans pray to Ea, god of crafts, their chants binding them, but your silence risks Law 192's punishment for disrespect. The workshop thrives on kin-based guilds, excluding you. Your modern instincts, expecting tools or training, are useless. Could you learn to spin clay or assist a smith to earn bread? A kind apprentice offers. you a chance to clean tools for a meal. But the task demands care to avoid damaging precious equipment. As morning unfolds, the quarter hums with creation, its pots and textiles fueling Babylon's trade. Yet, your place is precarious. Without skill or trust, you're expendable. The city's artisans, with their crafts and laws, sustain an empire. But for a stranger, it's a maze of toil and suspicion. Could you master a trade, earning a craftsman's respect? Or would Babylon's guarded workshops and rigid order cast you out before you shape a single piece? The sun climbs higher over Babylon's artisan quarter, 1800 BCE, and you're still in the potter's workshop. Your hands sore from kneading clay that refuses to hold shape. The air buzzes with the clack of looms and the clang of bronze hammers, as artisans craft goods for a city of 200,000. As a stranger with no Akkadian or skill, you're a frail link in this intricate trade, where survival demands mastering a craft under Hammurabi's code. Every failed pot tests you fail, and you risk being cast out or accused of theft in this world of precision and suspicion. You're tasked with grinding ochre for dye, a job critical for weavers. The master artisan, citing Law 274's wage of 6 grains of silver, demands precision. Your shaky hands spill powder, earning a rebuke. Without a seal or tablet, you're vulnerable to Law 7's death penalty if materials go missing. Artisans, from commoners to slaves bound by Law 15's death penalty, work in harmony, their skills honed over years. You, a mushkinam outsider, disrupt their rhythm, your modern clothes marking you as suspect. Nobles, ordering intricate jewelry, rely on these crafts, their wealth tied to your labor. Physical strain is relentless. The heat of the kill burns your skin, and dust from grinding clogs your throat. Canal water, used to mix clay, risks parasites, while beer, shared among skilled artisans, is beyond reach. Hunger, nausea, weaver's bread tempts you, but stealing invites Law 7's punishment. Socially, you're isolated. Artisans pray to EA for skill, their chants a bond you can't join, risking Law 192's penalty for disrespect. The workshops, guilds built on kin and trust, exclude you. You're modern. Expectations of training are useless in this world of meticulous craft. The artisan quarter's role is vital. Its pots, cloth, and tools supply markets and temples, sustained by canals under Law 53. You're offered a chance to carry reeds for a loom, earning a sip of beer, but your weakness slows you, and the master threatens to expel you. Could you learn to weave or assist a smith? Without kin or skill, you're barely above a slave, your labor cheap, and your status fragile. Babylon's crafts, with their precision, showcase ingenuity, but for you, they're a labyrinth of toil and suspicion. As evening nears, the workshop slows, artisans packing goods for market. An apprentice, pitying your effort, shares a date. But its fleeting Babylon's crafts offer no charity to strangers. The city thrives on its artisans, where law and faith ensure quality. But for you, it's a world of exclusion. Could you master a trade, earning a place? Or would the city's guarded workshops and rigid hierarchy keep you scraping by in its dusty kilns? Night falls over Babylon's artisan quarter, 1800 BCE, and you slump near the potter's workshop, exhausted from grinding ochre and carrying reeds under the relentless sun. The faint hum of cooling kilns surrounds you, a testament to the crafts that sustain a city of 200,000. As a stranger, with no Akkadian or artisan skills, you're a shadow in this skilled world, surviving on a single date earned through grueling labor. Babylon's crafts, governed by Hammurabi's code, fuel its economy. But for you, they're a crucible of toil and suspicion. Could you find a place, or will the city's rigid order cast you out? The artisan quarters strength in its skill. Craftsmen with clay tablets and seals produce goods under Law 122, ensuring trust, while Law 274 sets their wages. Nobles commission bronze, commoners weave cloth, and slaves, bound by Law 15's death penalty, haul materials. You, a mushkin outsider, lack tools or kin, making you vulnerable to Law 7's penalty for theft if supplies vanish. An apprentice's kindness, sharing a date, offers brief relief, but trust is reserved for guild members, not strangers like you. Physically, you're spent. Blisters mark your hands, and thirst persists. Canal water, used for clay, risks illness. And beer, a staple for artisans, is denied you. Hunger lingers. Stealing a crust risks Law 7's death penalty. Socially, you're a pariah. Artisans' prayers to Ea bind them, but your silence invites Law 192's punishment for disrespect. The workshop's unity, built on shared craft, excludes you. Your modern hopes for training are useless. Even cleaning tools requires trust you haven't earned, and whispers brand you a potential thief. Hope flickers. An artisan offers work at dawn, mixing clay for a meal. It's a start, but mastering a craft, pottery, weaving, or smithing takes years. Babylon's artisans, with their kilns and looms, showcase resilience, their legacy echoing in modern trades, where skill drives economies. Yet, for you, this world is unforgiving. A single date sustains you, but survival hinges on charity and backbreaking labor. As you rest under the stars, the quarter's quiet pulse underscores your isolation. Babylon's crafts, with their laws and faith, sustain an empire, but its hierarchy shuns outsiders. You're a speck in this skilled world, where nobles prosper, commoners craft, and slaves toil. Could you learn to spin clay, earn an artisan's trust, or labor into acceptance, weaving yourself into Babylon's creative order? Or would its relentless demands, its laws, its rituals, its guarded workshops forever mark you as a stranger, destined to fade in the shadows of its ancient kiln?